Like, don't use my sandwich to wash it down. Eat some of that Creole potato salad.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Murders! Dr. Satan! Ah, Dr. Satan!
It looks like a ghost.
That motherfucker got blood all over my best clown suit.
It's different for everybody. Let me tell you, they're gonna fucking murder the world. And I'm thinking they all gotta die.
Ready for this? We're going to try and talk about all these horror movies, and we're going to keep it civilized to maybe 10 minutes each. Because I didn't do the math again.
Dude, we never never have a time limit, bud.
I know.
So
I'm going to try and
10
keep it.
minutes each would be 310 minutes. That's
Yeah.
like...
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know. What is
5 to 10 minutes, max.
Yeah, no, okay, so every year,
The first time we
hey,
did
everybody.
this, it was like 5 hours.
Every year we try this. We try to figure out a way to do it.
Isn't there an introduction or something?
Yeah.
This is it.
You know, well, welcome, fine listeners at home. This is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast. I'm normally here. Jordan's normally here. But we got a couple people that aren't normally here. Why don't you introduce yourselves, y'all?
Really? You're making me
I'll go
introduce
first.
myself?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm Victoria. I am Jordan's partner.
And I got Pablo, my partner. He's here.
Hello.
So these are the only two people we could trick into watching as many horror movies as we could, right? So I'm proud of you guys, both of you, truly, for getting as far as you did. Because you guys are 20 plus, right? Both of you?
Yeah.
On the amount of movies?
20 plus
Pretty good.
movies.
This has to be
How
the
about
most,
that?
right? This year?
It's pretty good.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I watched 23. But
Yeah, that's good.
That's solid.
That's the gauntlet. That's a lot of movies in 1 month for anyone. You know what I mean? Unless you're just sick. Because I love horror movies, and it's gonna be weird to not watch one every day now. But yeah. But I always look forward to it again. It's always kind of fun. But it went.
I would watch a movie every single day if I didn't have life holding me down.
Fucking life. All right. Anyway,
I mean,
so
the world is like a horror movie right now with like Gaza and shit. So yeah, it is like a legitimate like horror field. So you know,
we watch these movies to
we
distract
So you clicked on the thing if you're listening. We watched 31
Welcome.
movies. We do it every year. Let's just dive in because this is going to be a fucking long one. So we already did some of them, so we'll go skip past those. But the first one we did, if you want to go see the list and everything, I'll try and put a link below or whatever, or go to the Reddit or go to the website. It has the whole list if you want to go see all the details and everything. So
you can follow along at home, folks.
that's right. So the first movie we watched was the 2003 Zack Snyder smash hit remake of Dawn of the Dead, which I thought.
You're not recording, right?
Yeah, of course I am.
No video?
Oh no, not video.
Oh, okay. Thank God, it's hot.
No, I
was
decided
I was wearing a fun wig, and then it guy was like, "Man, this is hot." And if you're not even doing video, what?
You were doing it for me. I thought you were doing it to turn me on. It was working.
No, bud. It was it was hot. It's for our folks out there in podcast land. They want to see us while we talk.
Well, sorry if you're listening to this on fucking YouTube and there's no video. I was gonna do a video, but then I decided not to because I fucked it up last time, and there's already more going on this time than I have to keep track of. So I was like, let's just keep it simple.
So I'm free to take off my pants now, right?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna. These fucking socks too. Sorry. So anyway.
Okay.
Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, right? Everyone watched this one.
That was Victoria's favorite of the.
I have a lot of thoughts about Dawn of the Dead.
Was it?
Yeah. I didn't watch it. I don't like zombies. I didn't watch it.
This was your because you hate zombies, right? So this was your first time watching it, right?
Oh no, this is a big joke. I didn't watch it. I don't watch zombies.
This was one of the
ones.
minus like 7 or whatever. This was one of them.
This one is like, yeah, I guess it's fair because it is so zombie, and they like. You can have 28 Days Later to thank for this movie because this was the one that's like, oh yeah, fast zombies are hip now. Let's remake the most, like, we have the name for Dawn of the Dead. Let's remake the most popular horror, like, zombie movie of all time. And let's give it to this fucking bozo. I don't remember what he did before this.
This is his debut.
Is it really? Well, he
Yeah,
must have been
he
doing
was-
like commercials or something. But
Music videos and commercials, yeah.
I mean, this whole thing looks like a fucking music video, so that tracks.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I mean,
This-
don't get me wrong. This came out. This had like one of the greatest openings of all time, and now watching it again, it's kind of lackluster, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's like
and
I
by
remember
openings,
seeing it.
we don't mean like theater openings. We mean like the fucking opening scene.
Yeah.
Through the credit sequence it's a pretty good like apocalyptic scene, right?
Yeah, I thought so. It was just very.
Have you seen this?
I might have seen bits and pieces, but this is the first time I just sat down and actually watched it.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I was not a huge fan of it. One, Zack Snyder's always hit and miss for me. And two, it just felt very 2000s in not a good way.
Yeah, it was really this time around. It was really fucking dated, which is like fine. Like it was sort of nostalgic for me because it's like I really liked this movie when it first came out, and then like as far as Zack Snyder goes, I liked this and I liked Watchmen, and so at that time in the mid 2000s, I was like, oh, this guy's kind of cool, but then he just ruined movie. Like I don't know, he's a lot of what's wrong with the 2010s,
which is hilarious because I honestly loved his newer zombie iterations, and like the fact that he's creating that like complete dystopian world where it's like kind of like a crime thriller mixed inside of the zombies. And like,
did you watch Army of the Dead? You watched that?
I really liked it. Yeah.
Really
so
liked
I'm like,
oh my goodness.
I give snack. See, that's the whole thing. Like so zombies are my slashers, Pablo, to you. It's like, I love zombies pretty much in any iteration. And I love to see what they do with it, where Dawn of the Dead, clearly the original is just perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing about it. And it really did, it created the whole genre. So but I love to see other people's, and I really thought it was fucking fun. I don't know, dude. There's so many little Easter eggs, and it's kind of like he did what he does best, which is just kind of this bombastic silliness. Then
you kind of take it for what it is, right? Because even his Dawn of the Dead,
it's like Resident Evil. I love that too. It's like
he does action movie first. You know what I mean? And so it's just like that's the whole thing. So Resident Evil, take a shot every single time there's a slow motion gunshot. And then the fucking gun shell falling on the ground at someone's feet. You'll be hammered because it's like this movie wants to be a cool, hip action movie with zombies, which I think it mostly succeeds. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like at the time and place, it nailed it. It definitely feels dated, like, visually and the writing now. But I think it's
the writing's rough.
Kind of fun. The writing is rough.
And
it's pretty rough.
That's what
doing the pregnant zombie was like kind of just. I don't know, at the time, because I saw this in fucking theaters, and so I thought, same. My, like, whatever, God, what was I, even, like, 14, 16, something like that, and I was like, whoa, like, they went there, because I've seen a lot of zombie movies, and up until this point, I was like, okay, 28 Days Later is pretty much the most, like, contemporary, like, fresh take on it, and so this kind of did that, but then, like, even like 5 years after I saw it again, and I was like, man, the baby is dumb. It's like such a dumb.
At least they didn't do the whole like Dead Alive, because that was my frame of reference for baby zombie, right?
Yeah, no, that was pretty stupid.
But like
they try to play it so serious too. They try to play it so
that's what gets
serious.
me. And they sidelined the one black dude character who was fucking interesting. And he just they're like, oh, make him go crazy. I think that was my biggest thing. It's like, there's just too many people in this movie. That if they would have made it like the original, that's what's so good about the original. It's like 3 people with a couple outside forces.
I forgot how many people were in this movie.
Oh man!
And when they meet the 3 guards again, I've seen this movie like 5 times, and I blanked them completely. Well, I thought they were one person. Like
because they basically
are.
Happened, after a certain point, they become the one guy who I said on Reddit. He's got the most interesting arc, but it's totally thrown in the background because he's like the antagonist at the first third of the movie, and then he's like reluctant, and he's like, literally, I would kill any one of you to save my skin, and at the end he sacrifices himself to save everyone, which is like, it's basic, but it's so like, it could have been really impactful if they would have just like narrowed the scope down. It was just kind of like everywhere, but I don't know, I think it's kind of dumb fun with some cool violence. I thought it was a cool way to start the month off personally, but it wasn't as good as I remember, but I thought it would be I
All
thought
right,
my brother
let's,
would be watching it, and I was like, "Oh, this will
Yeah.
be one to ease it
Yeah.
in," you know.
That's
right,
the thing
right,
for
right.
me.
No,
is-
I do like the opening. But what are your closing thoughts? Would you say? I personally would say this is worth a watch, but you know,
get like a drunken this is a fun,
Yeah.
just kind of casual watch. You don't have to get sucked in, but yeah, this is a fun background kind of one, right?
For me, the only thing that I would say is I think other zombie movies and media do what this movie does, but way better.
Oh yeah,
Like this made me want like the entire time your action movie.
you gotta keep.
I would rather be playing Resident Evil.
This
4.
is so early 2000s. It may as well be 90s, and so at that point, you kind of got to think like it is.
But even movies before that, I feel like do stuff better than this movie.
Yeah, but I don't know. It is very much of its time. It's like hip action.
Basically-
millennial. This is
basically
the
this.
millennium, baby.
if you want to watch the actual really good version of this, just watch 20 Days Later.
Oh
Like,
yeah, 20
if
Days
you-
Later
if
is
you
a
want
masterpiece.
The emotional connection and the actual
or the
driving
original,
plot. Go
watch
see
the
that.
original. Don't do that if you're really into
Yeah,
malls
yeah.
and zombies.
Don't watch Army of
Right.
the Dead. Don't watch Army of the Dead. I don't care what
will
Jordan
watch it
says.
because Jordan said
No,
like,
it's not
I'll
good.
watch it
No.
still.
I watched it with
No.
a big group of friends around Halloween last year or the year before, and every single person that I watched it with, was like 5 people. Every single person hated the movie. It's so bad.
We'll move
Yeah,
on
that's
from
fine.
it, but I wanted to see
Yeah.
because it's just like I wanted to see it because it's. I know a lot of people hate it, but his cinematography was kind of fun from the trailers, and so I was like, yeah, that looks like a different. Like it looks super. Oh, look at the shallow depth of field, but I'm like, oh, for a zombie movie, that looks a little different. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll put it on next year's.
It was fine.
We'll start
Sure,
next
yeah.
year's Horrortober with it. All right.
I know, right? That could be a little thing.
All
But
right.
let's move on to the next movie here.
Victoria watched this movie, right? So Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
No, I actually wanted to watch this movie. I didn't watch it because I had mutual aid fundraising that day, and so I actually really didn't have time to do it. So I'm a little bummed.
You were in the room though,
I
right?
was in the room.
Oh,
not
okay.
at all,
Okay, I was like, you were there with me.
present.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you might like it. It is got some violence in it that's kind of, but that's the thing. It's like a lot of the violence in this, like there is some pretty brutal violence, but a lot of it's pretty suggestive. But like because it's so grimy, it feels worse. It's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that stuck out in my mind for this movie that I'll never forget is the effectiveness of just having the camera pan on like basically a fucking still frame. It's like the crime happened and now you have the victim and you have the aftermath, and then it just plays the audio over it. It worked so well for me, and like every time they did that, it like I was like kind of gutted. Like I was like, oh man, I don't need to see it to like it's very effective.
That's a good
And
way
I, like-
to do it, and like budgetary too, like a good budgetary restraint
Right.
to like just
And-
set the
and-
scene up, the aftermath of
Yeah.
the crime scene, which are all very real crime scenes. It's like literally a prostitute
Yeah.
strangled in a fucking brook. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
just like hearing the struggle, like it really is one of the your imagination does more. You know?
This was based off a true story, really, right?
I mean, sort of. Henry Lee Lucas is literally called the
Right.
confession killer because he confessed to like 800 crimes and made up like 1,000,000 lies.
But the relationships
Yeah,
are real.
Yeah, he definitely is a
The-
serial killer. He definitely killed some people, and he definitely did kill his mom, and like him and Otis
is
are
like-
but
whatever.
But they just threw everything they can. Like Adam Walsh's kid that got murdered, they pinned on Otis, even though he definitely couldn't have done it and all this shit. So, but the true story aside, I think it captures like, especially since it was made shortly after his capture, I think it captures like the hysteria and the rawness of serial killers in the 80s, like actually, because like we don't really know what it was like on our age, but in like the 70s and 80s, serial killers were getting like, especially this is like only a year or two after John Wayne Gacy got caught and all this shit. So it's like,
Yeah, I could only imagine
This
watching this during that
feels-
time.
because it doesn't feel like sensationalized like you would think it would be. It does feel like smutty, you know what I mean? Which makes it got under my skin, and this is my second time watching it, and I still was like, yeah, this is creepy. And I like Michael Rooker too. Like I don't know, I thought they all did a pretty good job. I met him once, and I was like,
I don't know where this movie would lie in that
FedEx.
it's true crime. So it's like you wouldn't really. I mean, you'd like call it like a triple X or rated X film, but like it's so tame that you wouldn't really.
Well, that's the thing. It's like it's not like
consider
bloody,
that violent,
but it's like
but-
the amount of necks they casually snap in this is hilarious, sort of, because
I
it's just
know.
like
Well,
they're just like
Oh yeah, that is one thing. I was like, okay, snapping someone's neck is not that easy.
and they do it like 4 times.
That's
But-
I mean,
ridiculous.
I think
It's
that's
like-
the downfall of just cinema itself. You have to keep the plot going, so it's like you're not going to be like what it really takes to like strangle somebody
Well,
to death.
and low budget too. It's like exactly. It's not like a whole production. Like we don't have to hire Tom Savini to snap someone's neck.
Yeah. Which, dude, we got so much Tom Savini this month. It was dope. But anyway,
I'm a fan
Well,
of that.
my boy.
yeah, we'll get there, but
I don't know. Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, man. Like, I feel like it's far from perfect, but I really haven't seen that many other movies like it, and it's like because of that, it really stands out.
I mean, it comes down to sincerity. It really does feel like they were trying to capture the mind and like kind of capture kind of like the boredom of it and kind of the like plainness of it. It's like
the
fascinating
compulsive.
to see that.
It's like a very.
Yeah.
We watch a lot of killer movies, and it's like the disorganized, almost reactionary. Yeah, like just like a thrill. It's more of like the thrill killing, right? And just doing it just to solve a problem type of killings. It's not like, and it's. You spend so much time with these two that it becomes kind of casual, which is what is disturbing. I mean, they're recording it. Then Otis is like, I want to kill people. And so Henry's like, oh, fine. And then takes him out and they just kill that random guy on the side of the road, just for the thrills of it. And then obviously Otis is like kind of painted as the villain in a weird way.
That's what got me about this movie. It's just like, because all three of us watch or listen to a ton of true crime stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I think we can all safely see, like, oh, wow, they captured that exact feeling of what actual serial killers are like, better than a lot of movies even like today.
Especially the end. I mean, the end really stuck out to me because it's like, oh, you think it's going to have like Henry is finding some hint of humanity with this girl. Like he's trying to be like kind with her and protect her from her brother. But then as soon as reality hits him and it's just the two of them, he kills her basically because it's easier than trying to connect with her and like travel with her, even though she would have.
Well, he never connected with her. Period. Through the whole
he never
thing.
did. That's the whole
that's
thing.
What's
That's
great.
the trick,
is like
though. That's
his
the trick.
character never. His character never changed, and like it's like you're like so gutted at it because Hollywood has told you that like
the movie
he's gonna,
tricks the movie tricks you into thinking
tricks
that
you really
that's going to
well,
happen, but he's just like no, he's just like now he's done with her and she's an inconvenience, so he fucking stuffs her in a suitcase and leaves her on the side of the road. You know what I mean? And it's brutal, and the score is really good. I don't know. I like this movie though a lot. I used to have the DVD, the collector's edition with like the special art.
Well, dude, we watched this together in your old house. It was like one of the first times we ever hung out.
That is true. Anyway, check that one out.
Good way to bond. It's a good bonding movie. I recommend this for any of your old friends.
Yeah, you should
if you
watch
want to make
this.
a new friend, watch this movie.
Yeah, it's a good one to bond over.
Good way to vet out the actual sociopaths so they start rooting for Henry.
I know. I know. I watched an interview the other day. It was like Ty West or like Lars von Trier or someone, and they had it was Gaspar Noé. He had a Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer T-shirt on. I'm like, he would.
Yeah.
I'm bond with that guy. Anyway, the next movie was my scariest movie of the month.
I was gonna say, are we ready for the best movie on this list?
It's pretty good, man. But
all right, and this is
I say that with intense sarcasm because it's so silly.
No,
this is
it's
the first
so
one on the
good.
list that you fully watched with intent.
Yeah, I was present, unfortunately.
No, it's great. It holds up surprisingly.
I think the only thing I'm going to give this movie
What, spiders hold up
is the real spider acting in it is phenomenal. Like that, like all the blocking, tracking, and all of the I don't even know what you call it, like wrangling. Just
wrangling.
Everything, all the action that they did with the real spiders was creepy to me in that sense that seeing a live real spider is creepy. When it goes to puppet and when it goes to like all this other shit, no,
you can always immediately.
It's hokey, but
the puppets didn't do anything for me. But every time I went to like a real spider, I immediately got like a gut reaction to it.
So I'm just pointing out that in Arachnophobia, we're giving the Gold Star Acting Award to the real spider.
No.
To the speeders.
No,
yeah.
Listen. The script and the pacing is so fucking tight. It's tight. It's tight as
What
fuck.
are you-
This
what
is
are
an
you talking
Amblin.
about?
This is an
it's like
Amblin
a
production.
it's a made-for-TV movie, dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is like it is. It's B Amblin. It definitely feels like Steven Spielberg and them were like, okay, we're gonna make this movie, but yeah, it's like the B, but it's like it's a tight
feel
script
like it's
and
like
it's
maybe
it's
P.
it's grounded with it's got good jokes. I don't know. The only thing I didn't like about it, because it's cozy for me. That's the thing. It's cozy. It's a very cozy '90s fucking Amblin style, like good horror movie for kids and people who are terrified of spiders like myself.
I fully agree. That's the thing that surprised me. Is like all the character moments and all the bits were like actually entertaining, and I wanted to see them constantly interact with each other. From John Goodman's character, which was great. I don't like you two don't like John Goodman's like bit in this, and like you're crazy.
No, Jeff
No,
Daniels
dude.
is my guy.
No, if John, I mean, like John Goodman's character was every single time he was on screen, it was redeeming. I just got a breath of fresh air, just enough hope in my heart to not like turn the movie
See,
off. Like I was
those were my least favorite parts. I like John Goodman, but I hated the music because it was like
It was so cheesy.
it was so
and
goofy.
funny.
Where it was
sure.
just like
Yeah.
bum,
But
bam,
that's-
bum, 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 bam. Like, it's
The
Right.
just like,
theme song
no,
of
what
John
is this?
Goodman.
Yeah.
Theme of
like
John
no,
Goodman.
this movie felt like a commercial. Like they were just like everything about it was so like rooted in that time period that like they just kind of dated themselves.
it is
so much.
certainly dated. It's
And
peak
that-
it's peak fucking early '90s stuff.
I don't know.
But
If I saw this as a kid, I know because this is the first time I've seen it. I would love this movie. Like it would totally would have like the nostalgia glasses, and I would be.
well,
I will
I
say-
definitely
I'd be
got
all for it, but
got some.
the
nostalgia
first time I'm
glasses,
seeing it now,
admittedly.
Some of the shots with
hella
characters,
hokey.
with specifically characters, the
That's
spiders
definitely-
were like shot perfectly, but some of the parts with characters
Extra cheese.
did feel a bit like static and boring, even though the interaction was good.
That's fair. I mean, I liked for what it was. I thought Jeff Daniels' characterization was pretty good, and like I said, I thought the pace of like the growing tension of the town and like and everything worked out pretty well, even though the climax was like a bit much. But I don't know. It kind of brought it's good screenwriting and like everything matters. There's no points that don't lead to something, and like the tension is all like it's very simple, but like
Sure, yeah.
well crafted. Better than the last two movies. Crafted anyway. I don't know.
I was definitely more entertained by this movie than
Yeah.
the last two.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. But I fully admit I got some nostalgia glasses because this is one of the few movies that got me into horror movies.
Keyword entertained.
I was like 5 when I saw this the first time, and I really liked it. So
It was. I liked watching it because it was a good laugh.
Yeah,
Most of the time.
yeah.
you out
Right,
there,
It goes down easy. So
it goes down real easy. That's the thing. It's cozy. You know what I mean? Except for this time, I hate spiders since last I watched it. I didn't used to hate spiders until I was like 22 or whatever. So it's not like a lifelong thing where Jeff Daniels' character is a baby, which I thought was a fun scene. He's talking about how he's terrified of spiders. This is a good backstory.
I know, right, yeah. Well, I mean, having that like them discovering that the spider like sucked all the blood out of the corpse that was coming back. That like to me, I'm like, oh fuck yeah. I was hoping for like a little more edge to it, and so I was like, oh cool. And then there was no
You
edge.
always
It was
want some
just-
edge. This is an Amblin movie. See, that's what really stood out to
know.
me this time. Is it always felt like one, and I was surprised to see that it actually fucking was one. Because I had no idea.
Right.
I was like, holy shit, it actually is one of those movies. Because every movie of the fucking
But it
80s
really-
and 90s feels like that.
It is-
What
well,
else
it's
did
wild,
Amblin
yeah.
make?
It's like all Steven
Oh,
Spielberg shit.
It's
And
yeah,
the
anything spilled.
90s,
But so this
E.T.,
kind of gave me like
Goonies, Gremlins.
I like the like Close Encounters, like that really has a lot more paranoia in it, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree. This does feel a little safe, a little commercial. Like it could have been a little bit more like subtle and stuff, but I don't know. I
Right.
think I just like horror movies more than you.
yeah, right. Fake
Anyway.
fan, huh?
Anyway,
All right,
Arachnophobia.
let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the horniest movie. This
We're gonna-
definitely is ranked as the most erotic movie.
We're gonna
we watched.
breeze past it because we already spent an hour talking about it at length. But Dracula,
Oh.
I can
Well,
get your guys'
wait.
quick opinions.
Yeah,
Wait, you already spent an hour?
we did. This is one of the. So these movies are
yeah,
all.
I have to say is that nobody, and I know that this is controversial, nobody needs Gary Oldman to be fucking Dracula. No one needs that. And nobody needs Gary Oldman as a beetle or something. He looks like a fuck with his like fucking circle glasses.
Yeah,
to be
and his hair, it literally was like
Dracula,
beetle-like.
because he's not.
That was
Nobody looks at Gary Oldman and is like, that's the guy I want to fucking bang for Dracula. No thanks.
No.
Okay, that's it.
Dude, 60s, 90s Gary Oldman? I don't know.
Victorian Gary, like peak Gary Oldman when he was in like a younger Dracula. Yeah, Gary Oldman, Dracula's daddy. And Keanu Reeves is not a good actor.
No, he's not. We love him, but he's not.
Was there even an attempt at an accent there?
No, we talked about how we felt about Gary Oldman and Keanu.
Go listen to our podcast. Keanu gets a pass because he was tired. He was a tired boy. I love Keanu.
Anthony Hopkins is the GOAT. Van Helsing forever.
Yeah,
that's
right. Yeah, that was the best part of the movie.
And
he was so good.
God, what?
I mean,
who
Not
plays
to go to bat
Renfield
for
again?
Keanu,
Anyway,
but-
why am I
Yeah.
spacing
Not
that?
to go to bat for Keanu, but I'm like, Jonathan Harker is a boring character. He is,
I
like,
agree.
he is
And they
the boring
they
character.
fucking sideline the fuck out of him in the last half, which is annoying because
Yeah.
it's like, well, I mean, it's fine because it's like he is boring, but it's like, who am I supposed to root for? Like now, like I don't know, Dracula. I don't give a fuck about Dracula.
Another we're moving
But
away
Winona
from this
Ryder.
movie. But can I just say some of the shots in that movie were like so fun, and the
Oh,
fact
yeah.
that most of them were practical. Holy
The-
crap! The train shot,
Oh,
The
train
real
shot with
goat,
the
the
giant
real
boat.
goat's the
Yeah.
cinematography. Yeah,
it's all practical. There's like only like 2 CG shots in this at all, and the CG was only used to enhance the practical. Like it's fucking that is where I give the movie the most props.
Yeah, go listen. To the more. It's a fun but flawed vampire Dracula rendition. Just watch Nosferatu instead, if you want a real one.
Right.
The next movie is unfortunately probably the most forgettable movie of the month. I keep forgetting we actually watched it. Me anyway.
Oh, I
It was
like
Dark Water.
But it's definitely like I love your reaction because it definitely
I
is
kind
a.
of like it, but also
I liked it.
Yeah, no, I kind of liked it, but forgettable doesn't necessarily mean bad. You know what I mean? It was just like
Right.
it was just so plotting that it's just
That's the thing. I go to bat for this pacing. I actually really loved the pacing in this, and I loved the story. Like it's like it didn't need to be, like I was kind of expecting like Ring level of like terror, and this is definitely more like kind of like a fun like Guillermo del Toro ghost story.
yeah, kind of. It is
Then-
closer to
then,
that. Did you
like,
watch it?
That is
True
one of the movies
horror.
that I did not watch. Actually,
It did. Yeah, I could
yeah.
see like a Devil's Backbone kind of, but that's got a little bit
right.
more mystique.
Right.
Done
That's
in a
what
way.
I'm saying. It's like they
But-
could have leaned into the more
Yeah.
childlike whimsy of this, but I think that like it's so funny because the thing I like really take away from this movie is that stain. Like is the choice of moving into a new apartment and then like the water stain, like because we lived it, and it's like just like creeping water. It's like so frustrating and annoying. But then like it's kind of like the sinisterness of
It is.
that-
It
of
is
that,
sinister.
like,
Yeah, the way that it's
Yeah,
so,
it-
just like it just slowly grows, but it happens so gradually. You're like, that's getting bigger, and it's
Right.
like creeping in your life, and it's like it's used well in the movie. And,
so wet. She was so wet.
honestly,
I hate it.
all
Oh,
leading to the big jump scare at the end, I think was worth it. But then they fizzle because I like that jump scare. Like you saw it coming, but it was creepy. Where she's like thinks she's like with her daughter, and then like looks in the hallway and
Right.
sees her daughter, and then it's like
And-
looks
Yeah.
down and it's the
and then
ghost
she's like,
girl.
she's just
And
there.
the makeup
And
on the
dude,
ghost girl is super fucking creepy because she's like all wet, and
makeup's-
submerged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and she's like she is fucking like wrinkly. Like
she's
it looks like she's
gross and wrinkly. Yeah,
she's decaying inside that water tower, and so it's just kind of like that part is like cool. It's one of those things where I'm like, if I saw this when it came out in that year, I would definitely find it creepier. But now that we've lived like so much real life that's existed like this, and like it feels dated because you already know what's going to happen in the first like 10 minutes.
You do. It's all very
first 20 minutes.
It's very predictable, and it's like more of a family drama, like akin to like almost The Brood or something.
Right.
And like, I really think it worked for the build up to that scare, but then it kind of just stayed on it too long. It lost all of its mystique. Like it showed the girl in her makeup too long and everything. Like I feel like if it would have really landed the ending, it would have been way more memorable and impactful for me. But then it like went to the whole like 15 minutes of her as an adult going back and talking to her ghost mom, which is like, is fine in like a book or something.
I liked though.
I like it if there would have been maybe more of that.
Right, exactly.
But it feels like
I wish it was more fanciful ghost story than like tragic.
I agree. It feels like shoestrung in at the end. Like if half the movie would have been like that, or it would have been like a narrative framing device for like the whole thing.
Well, I really wanted her. What I was hoping, I thought it'd be amazing if she grew up and then she had a daughter.
Yeah,
and
that would have been.
We were seeing like a cycle, but it, like yeah.
But
I liked that it did that, but I mean, it did have that kind of like, okay, you're making a kind of randomish move, but it did feel like also, like this movie definitely wasn't like, we're here to be like the scariest movie, definitely
for sure.
was more about the family itself, and obviously, felt very grounded in reality around like the divorce between the parents and like, the woman being, essentially like discriminated against because of her, like her like having being hysterical, quote unquote, but not really at all. And so I thought, like the drama of it was like more the focal point.
I agree.
I appreciated that they consistently were like, we're not going to do jump scares. We're just going to we're just going to mood throughout the entire movie and then like kind of give you a little bit of a round off at the end where they're like at least get some connection.
I agree. And for like Japan too is pretty subtle compared to a lot of like, because Japan's good at that, but they also do usually go a little crazier with it. I think this worked better as like a family drama and like the leaking of that destruction of the house works well with like her growing uneasiness, and it does kind of play in like, is she going crazy or like what's the deal?
Well, I love that we watched Rosemary's Baby this month, and like that I like really was like, oh shit, it's like this gives me that same vibe where like no one believes her. And,
I know it's so frustrating to watch because you're there with her, empathizing with her, and like understanding all the shit she's going through. And then you're like, everyone's like, you're hysterical, and you're like, no,
you're a hysterical woman. There's no, and then you're like, oh, honey, don't say that. But it's like it's not your fault because that's what's really happening. You can't say that.
I know, right?
Anyway, I didn't think it was bad by any means. I just like, I feel like the ending kind of fizzled out for me, and therefore it didn't like stick the landing, and so I kind of like forgot the length of the movie. I remember the vibe, the apartment, and like all the leaky water and everything. I thought was pretty good, but overall, I'm just like, it was fun. But it was good.
It's definitely a good first watch. I don't know if I necessarily need a rewatch, so that's kind of rare for movies. Typically, you need a rewatch for them to like really, really develop. And so this one, I kind of feel like I got it. But
I got it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good for what it did. You know what I mean? I respect it.
Right.
So,
all right.
Anyway, the next movie is like the exact opposite of this movie.
Complete opposite of Dark Water. Did you watch it?
Street Trash is the next one.
I did. This movie is unhinged. Oh my god.
Unhinged is the right word to use. It is fucking bonkers, man. It is. It's not good, but it is kind of.
Like clearly had something to say about homelessness and the way we treat homelessness,
dude,
but I don't know what.
I don't know.
I don't think they wanted to say anything.
Well, that's what Jordan and I were saying. They just kind of.
You don't do a bunch of like Vietnam veterans and just random homelessness and humanize them and the runaways. You don't do that without a purpose.
No, that's true. But like they also like Jordan and I were saying, they went after everything. It was a shotgun scatterblast to just kind of be like, how far can we push it? It was like an exercise in extremes, and I think it kind of worked for that. But I agree.
When was this movie made?
Like mid '80s. Like 86 or 87.
And I really, it's like it's in the right in the pocket of trauma. So it's just like I feel like that's where that's where it excelled. Is like it knew what it was doing when it came to like all of the body horror and all of the shock factor. It knew what it wanted to do.
Way better than I thought it was gonna.
I feel like this had no script. This was just people like riffing, and I think that it like I'm impressed by what it did, but I mean it's offensive, capital O, so I'm like I don't recommend this to anybody, but I really liked it.
But yeah, it like kind of like once you get like so absorbed in it after a while, you do find yourself like fucking chuckling because you're like, what the fuck? It's like so unhinged, like you said, Pablo. That's just because it's like I was hating it. I was liking the goop and stuff. But then I was like, as it was going, I'm like, why am I laughing at this? Like, what has happened? I feel like I've been captured by this movie in like like kind of a bad way. But
sounds like kind of other like cult classics like Basket Case or things like that.
Well, that's like what Jordan was saying with the trauma element. And it's like, I don't know. I respect it, but it was way better visually and production than I thought it was going to be. Like they actually had some pretty decent like cinematography, and the VFX were solid compared to some of the other movies this month, especially. But it's a weird one, and I heard they're remaking it, and I don't know how that's going to work.
Oh my
Ew.
God, no.
Why?
That's like the completely wrong movie to remake.
No, it's literally how and why. You know what I mean? Because it's like they're remaking Toxic Avenger, which I kind of get, and Macon Blair is directing it. We'll talk about him.
But
later.
they already did. Psycho Gorman was like the best remake of Toxic
Psycho
Avenger
Gorman
we could get.
fucking was awesome.
Yeah.
Why didn't we watch that?
I don't know. Yeah, dude. Ugh.
I was gonna
So
say
I
Street
take it
Rash
you
is
weren't a fan
definitely-
then, right, Victoria?
No, I was like this is the movie that is the like you know how upset I was about Sleepaway Camp a couple of years ago?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. And I know that I was drinking on that one, so like I was real into it.
But this is worse. This is definitely worse.
I am sober.
Yeah.
Soberly, I'm still at that level
Yeah.
with Street Trash.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Like I couldn't really even pay attention to it because I felt so just disgusted by it. I was like, why are we watching this? Like, why this portrayal is just really gross and stereotypical. Like, why are we're punching down? You know, anytime you're trying to, it's just no,
But-
no.
So you don't think it was saying anything about the homelessness
I
or
mean,
the
maybe.
runaways?
I see. I don't know if it was for
I don't
me.
think it was sending
Maybe
a
I'm digging
positive
too deep,
message
but still.
at all. No, I think it was a lot of stereotypical use of tropes around experiencing homelessness. That definitely was not like any positives about that.
Yeah, I definitely.
What I
I think
watched.
maybe they had like some kind of personal experience or something, but I don't know. It does feel like I said, it's more of like, yeah, it's almost like punching down, but they're just like fucking. They're the kind of person that just goes into a mosh pit and starts swinging their arms at everyone, just chaotically. Like it feels very chaotic energy, to just try and just be like piss people off. And so I guarantee you, I don't remember the director's name, but I guarantee you they would love your reaction. You know what I mean? I feel like that's what they wanted. Is like, I couldn't finish it because it's such a piece of shit. And they're like, yeah, I just want you to feel something. You know, I don't care if it's fucking disgusting. And it does feel like that kind of movie where it's just like, dead body washes up on the shore after a gang rape. And the guy's like, oh, I'm going to fuck her. You know what I mean? Which is like, I don't know. It's like so much, but it's so dumb and goofy. I don't know. It's not good, but there's something to it. I don't know what. I don't know why they're God's name they're gonna remake it though. That's
I know
the worst idea.
I'm harping on it, but I still feel like this is one of those films that you would like watch and then watch a 7-hour YouTube analysis on how this is actually like talking about the homeless like issues, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre talking about like post like a Vietnam era U.S. I feel like it'd be a lot like that.
Well, it definitely feels like,
Sure, you
yeah, I don't know much about the filmmakers, but it definitely feels like some frat bros just be like getting really into VFX and like having like this just like, yeah, you know, like everything.
I mean, it is. I guess I don't know. That's all. Like, I'm gonna leave it at what I said earlier. It's just offensive on purpose, and that's it. It's kind of like they're really. I don't think that's how come I'm like. I don't think they're trying to say anything deeper about like any kind of issue. I honestly think they're taking large sweeping tropes that exist, and just like kind of. I don't know. So I don't really necessarily think they're punching down as much as they're just, like Levi said, kind of just punching across the board.
It's just a whirlwind of chaos, just trying to see how many people can piss off on purpose. Like, it does feel like that, to where it's just like, black stereotypes, got it. You know what I mean? Got everything, you know, like everything we can do.
Yeah.
In this moment, what's the fucking dumbest, worst shit I could say to piss someone off or offend someone? I'm going to do it. And, like, you gotta... Not in respect is not the right word, but it's just like their commitment to it is sort of commendable, I guess. Especially like
it
does have a
I'm
production
fascinated.
value, which is surprising because the VFX were pretty solid. which is weird. And you know, the goop.
Respect. No, I don't think they deserve any of that. And I don't think like your impact. The impact is just disgusting. So yeah, I'm like everyone.
No, it's not
like,
good.
The
See,
punching wildly is all for people who like experience depression. So I'm just like no. No, and the fact they're gonna remake it makes me want to fucking vomit.
I know.
I mean, that is
why. That's what I doesn't make
yeah.
any sense. Like well, I tell you why. Money. It's because it's become a cult classic, sort of, and they're
Has
just
it?
like.
But
Because I've never heard of this movie until now.
I've heard of it.
I was gonna say
in the trauma circles. Like I feel like.
Well, and that's the thing. The fact that they're remaking it, I'm like curious what they're gonna do with it. Sure, but like, I don't know. To remake this, I'm actually kind of like. I'm like, you have no originality inside of you whatsoever to any period of any.
Like, what are you gonna do?
Where this movie sits, it is original, sure.
I'll be amazed if the remake actually gets finished. Like, I'll be fucking amazed.
Sure.
Unless it's like literally just totally self-funded garbage, but it's just like nobody wants a remake of this. I don't know. Anyway, that's street trash. It's I feel like a lot of people who do like it are just contrary and they like it because they like to make people fucking uncomfortable.
Sure,
but
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It is trash, absolutely. So,
yeah.
Did you guys watch The Strangers? That's the next movie. Did you watch that one, Victoria?
I did.
Yeah.
Was this your guys' first time?
Oh no, I've seen this movie once at least.
I have also seen The Strangers before this,
Yeah.
but I didn't. Back in days of yore, I did not keep my eyes open very often. So I actually watched it this time.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you? You didn't. This is one you didn't watch, right?
I did not watch it. I've definitely seen bits and pieces before. I may have seen the whole movie, but I don't remember much about it. It kind of like goes in with other films that are also home invasion. Like, what's the other one? Not the. What are the other films like this?
There's quite a few. I'm trying to think of like from the era. Because it's like home invasion movies started really getting popular, I feel like, again, in like the 2010s because of this movie, I think. But yeah, I don't know. The first half was
I can
really
only
good.
think of like Funny Games, but
Funny Games is a totally different beast, man.
Funny Games is amazing. Yeah, like
Funny Games is
this movie.
awesome.
This movie's a good first watch.
Yeah, it's fine.
But like watching it a second time, this also kind of loses its like pizzazz. It loses its.
It does.
Loses like that. It loses like the edge because even though I forgot that like Dennis Reynolds was in this, and I you know,
dude,
and
Golden
I
God, I never forget.
I know, and I completely forgot how it ended. I remember it ending. Spoiler alerts, Pablo. I remember it ending. You know, everyone dies, and so or whatever.
It
you know,
starts,
the bad guys
for some stupid reason. It
bad guys
starts
win.
it does the whole trope of like, oh no, there's so much blood, and then it's like 24 hours earlier, which is so annoying in these kind of movies.
It did not need that period
at all.
And the part where the movie completely falls apart, like it just unravels to trash and hell, is when she's like, all the events have happened, and then the husband goes to the garage, and then she's in like the house, because a lot of this movie has a lot of that like, oh, I'm in the house and I don't know where they are, and you know, and it's like that is like that's the whole that's the whole tension.
That's the whole back half, which is not good, because it's like after it becomes that, after Dennis Reynolds gets his face blown off, sorry, Pablo.
Yeah.
After that, it all goes downhill because it's like there's nowhere to take the tension. Everything where the tension comes from the audience knowing that there's something wrong, and the characters slowly learning something's wrong. Like the whole bit about her dropping the fucking smoke detector and then coming back in the room and seeing it on the chair after we, as the audience, have seen the guy in the room. That's the tension. You know what I mean? But it's just like you lose all your tension once they're just like, all right, they're coming in at you, and then you're just like running out in the woods and then back in the house. Like, then you don't care, and then they're just like, well, we got to end this. So they just catch them and then just end it, which is lame. No. You know, the back
I feel like they
end
couldn't
sucks.
keep it.
They couldn't
definitely could not.
First hour is pretty fucking good, though, I think. So pretty solid.
Right.
Build up.
I really appreciated the lack of motivation. Like, that's something that I thought about when I watched it.
Yeah.
I think because it's so rare that movies do that, like where something like this happens, and then there's always like you're expecting exposition, depending on like the horror movie, exposition dumb, right? And
Yeah.
so, and then in the end, they're like, why, and it's just like, just because you're home, like, and that is like, it's like, that is the scariest shit.
Yeah.
Because that's what everyone fears.
Anyone can be a target of that. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
effective,
right.
Yeah.
for sure.
Right. And
It's-
I do think that scene when they are like, I mean, I thought the gore was going to be worse, which was nice that it wasn't, but like for me, but like when the scene when they're together, and they're tied up and they're getting stabbed and stuff like that, actually, like, it hurt, like watching them, like, like thinking about watching, your fiance or whoever, getting stabbed to death, and you're also about to die. I think that was effective.
I 100% agree. I think that scene, if it wasn't for the beginning starting with the end, I think that scene would have hit so much harder, because it's like, you're like, because it would have been like more shocking too, because like you don't know if the killers are gonna get away, you don't know if like Liv Tyler's character is gonna survive, like any of that shit. But then they're both getting their stabbed, and they're like having this, tension. Like she denies the proposal, so they have this tension, but they've come together over their trauma. Obviously, it's nice and it's heartbreaking to see that, to have them be these victims of this random act of violence that does feel really grounded, not like a slasher where it's like that's random also, but these feel like real people that are twisted, that just want to kill for the thrill of it. You know what I mean? And it feels real, like seeing the girl at the door being like, "Is Ashley here?" or whatever. And then like keeps coming back, and then he like screws the light bulb on, and they're like, oh, there's obviously something nefarious going on, and there's no real motive to it. Like, it really works, and it is impactful. I think it's just like it loses some of its structure in the last half. It kind of smears together. Yeah, I highly recommend the sequel though. You guys should watch the sequel. It's really good. It's better.
What's the sequel called?
It's Strangers 2.
Oh, just Strangers 2.
Well,
Strangers Pray at Night.
Pray at Night. Yeah.
Okay. So I remember the other one that I confuse this movie a lot with is You're Next, I believe.
Oh yeah.
So these two I confuse a lot, like mix back and forth together.
Yeah. I think I prefer You're Next. But it takes definitely more of like a comedy, like more of a horror comedy vibe, because it's like it starts off like that, but then the final girl ends up being like a complete and total badass and flips the tables on the killers, and then they have motives. But I 100%, like Your Next came out a couple years after this, and so it's like, you guys see that? Your Next rules. We're watching it next year.
I haven't seen it.
It's pretty good.
I think you guys would like it.
Yeah, Your Next is cool.
I've definitely seen that one for sure.
I like Your Next, and it's got I never know the guy's name, but Lewis from The Signal. He just shows up in random horror movies.
Oh, he does? Hell yeah.
Anyway, he's like one of the main guys. But so
Okay.
yeah, Strangers is cool. I recommend the sequel. I think it's kind of underrated. It's a little bit different, but it's way better, I think. So anyway, moving on.
Well, let's go on to the next one here. This one was your sleeper hit.
This was my sleeper hit. So
Levi.
this is Salem's Lot, the Tobe Hooper 1979.
Did you watch it, Pablo?
I did not. So instead of watching Tobe Hooper film, I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, it's better.
Oh,
I've seen
sick.
that.
Which is it's great because it's like I kind of wish you watched this though also to see, because it's like Texas Chainsaw is like that is Grindhouse to the foundation.
Yeah.
Where this is like a made for TV movie that he puts a lot of great suspense in, and like
It's
really
surprising how much they get away with. We talked about this movie a little bit when we did our Fog episode, because the Fog felt like a stripped down version of this, but man, this movie pushed it while also staying like so many. I didn't see it as a young kid, but I've heard a lot of Gen Xers saw it on TV as kids and it fucked them up. Like, it was terrifying because it is made for TV, but it's like, it's amazing what the amount of effort. Like, I can tell they really tried.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, this is definitely.
Did you?
I did watch it. Yeah, sorry, just to go on the whole like made for TV thing. It did feel a lot like, because I watched this late at night while I was half asleep.
Yeah, it's
just like,
it's kind of
oh
slow burn.
wow, like it the feeling that it gave me definitely felt like nostalgia for some reason.
Oh yeah, it's because it does the whole. It's Stephen King, first of all, and nobody else does the small town where shit slowly starts to go wrong and ends in some explosive fucking crazy climax. Like, that's just like, he fucking perfected that shit, and I think this does it to a T. And I'm reading the book right now, currently, and
You just grab the book.
We're not recording video.
oh yeah,
But,
this is for you, man. Oh, yeah, right. We're not recording.
For the
He
listeners.
and Levi. Now I'll give the
reached
audio
out.
their description now. Levi reached over and he picked up his large book of Salem's Lot.
It's the first
the
edition.
hardback.
It's very thick.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Rich.
this is first edition.
Runtime.
It was given to me.
Speaking of a long thick book, the
My
runtime.
My dead grandfather.
The runtime though. How long was this movie?
It was like a little over 3 hours. It was like 3:09 or something.
Yeah, it definitely felt like 3 hours.
It did, and that was kind of my bad. I didn't really because I'd never seen it, and I'd always wanted to see it, and I had known in the back of my mind it was like for TV, like It, the '90s It, where it's like it's a movie, but is it really? It's
Rose
like a
Red.
two-part.
That's kind of a Stephen King.
That's his
staple.
thing for sure, and so I figured. I almost didn't put it on, but then I was like, yeah, it's 3 hours, whatever. That still counts. You know what I mean? So, but I almost feel like that was too short. So it's like I'm waiting because they just made it again. I was talking to you about it. They made Salem's Lot again, but it's been stuck in post hell, I guess. But
this
it's
is
coming to
definitely-
Max apparently. They just announced it like yesterday.
I know I'm jumping.
This
the
movie
gun
can
here.
use could use a remake easily. I feel like having this be a rendition
Well,
in short story form, you don't get like that mini series form is perfect. It's built for it, I feel like.
I like in this movie, I like Barlow. I think he's a really effective Nosferatu type vampire that they don't really do nowadays. The vampires are creepy as fuck in this. I'm interested because in the book, Barlow is a character and he talks.
He doesn't. Yeah, right. I was gonna say like the way they changed him in this movie. It's like I feel like they made him. I think it's just for the shock value, right? To just
but it was
when you
interesting
first see
'cause
him, it's scary, right?
It's super scary. You don't see him till way late because you see the other
Right.
kid vampires first and all that.
Yeah, exactly. And like you don't know who the technically main villain is. And so when his reveal is amazing. But in the book, I've heard that like he's fleshed out throughout the whole thing, and he isn't.
You
he isn't,
only
mute
see him
and violent.
But that's
like,
what's interesting. I think they did a good thing because Toby Hooper and whoever wrote the writers of the TV show, they made Barlow this presence that's never seen till the end because his influence is felt all over the town through Straker, through the antique shop, and like all the disappearances, and everyone's like kind of like, where's this mysterious guy? Because in the book, nobody really sees him either, and the only time you see him as the reader is when he's like meeting people who then disappear. Like it's a chapter, like he'll meet somebody in a fucking dark alley and be like, start talking to him, and then they like start getting hypnotized, and then in the next scene, the main characters are like, this person disappeared, like what the fuck?
That makes much more sense in like a book form rather than film form.
So it was a smart move in the adaptation to kind of like keep the audience at arm's length from him. And they went with this like nameless, monstrous Nosferatu, even with the design, which was cool. I don't know. I liked the pace. I liked the vibe, but I do wish it could have been even more fleshed out. So I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do with a movie that's probably 2 hours long. It's probably gonna suck. So
as long as it's not like the Dark Tower.
That movie doesn't exist. We don't talk about the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Did you like this one, Victoria? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. I was like,
It's kind of boring, probably. Yeah,
it's kind of boring.
I get that.
The kids are creepy, and that was like that was more effective than I thought it was going to be. I was like, ooh, I don't like that.
The reverse fog was cool. It was really eerie.
So cool, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought like I was like the creepiest thing was like the age of the man dating that woman.
Yeah.
That was the thing. But like also, I liked
his haircut.
It's creepy. And his haircut was terrifying.
Yeah.
But I think it was goofy that like they went with the Nosferatu thing, and the first time you see him, it's like a jump. It's kind of scary, and you're like, whoa, and that is creepy. And then they just like decide like he's out now, and you see him all the time, and it's like he's like there's a scene, and I can't even remember everything that's going on in the room, but he's like it's like him in the room with everyone else. It's when like the little boy too, like like I think it's when he kills his parents.
Yeah, he just like shows up and just like kung fu's them.
Yeah, he's just like in the room, like he's having a conversation with these people. You're like
just like pans over, he's like eating a sandwich or whatever.
Yeah, right. Like he's like okay. Yeah, it's very goofy.
It is sort of goofy. It's like this is another one of the ones that like feel cozy and like nostalgic, like you said, even though it's like 70s.
So I know I'm jumping the gun here, but is The Fog also Stephen King? It's not, is it?
No, but it's got that small town
it
kind of
feels like
vibe.
it.
Like it does kind of feel like it. That's another one that feels like it could be Amblin too, right?
The Fog's original. Anyways,
which is like too bad because it could have been great. We talked about the Fog at length.
I think so. Actually, maybe it is adapted, but
I don't think so. I think it's original.
I think it was. All right. Well, speaking of adapted, our next film here was.
Here we go.
This is our first remake. Oh, just kidding. Dawn of the Dead was the first remake. So this is the 2006 Andre Aja remake of The Hills Have Eyes, which I'm the only one who likes. So I'm going to be I like horror movies. Damn fine. I'm the guy here who likes horror movies.
Listen, okay.
No, dude. I think this is a damn fine remake.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Have you seen the original?
No.
It's okay.
Not officially, not cover to cover, but
it's messy.
I've seen.
So I also like this film. Like I thought it was like it surprised me with how good. Like, oh wow, this wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But my other thoughts on it was everything else that didn't do it as well, and it's the same problems that I had with the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Yeah, it is definitely 2000s. That is not a good era for horror.
No,
at all. And so I thought that these would be interesting ones to watch because when we originally were putting together the month, we were going to do like a whole week of like original remake, which we did later with Maniac, which we'll talk about soon. But this one ended up staying because I haven't seen it in forever, but I really liked it because it was, it was impressionable on 15-year-old me. Like I thought it was pretty cool, and I do think it's better than the original for different reasons, but it's
debatable. But it definitely has more style.
The original is one of those ones where it's like it's not very good, but it's so influential and it's got a vibe. But that's kind of all Wes Craven's real early stuff for me.
So here's what I'm going to say about this film. Two things. One, it has the same problem that had, which was like everybody just felt so mean to each other for almost no reason, which the original didn't feel like that.
Right.
I agree. It worked a little bit better than Dawn of the Dead because at least they're a family, so they have like this family dynamic, this internal tension where it's like in Dawn of the Dead, complete strangers are like being a snarky fuckheads to each other, so I get that a little bit more. But I agree. A lot of movies of this era seem to do that.
And the second thing is like the biggest change of this film from the original was the whole nuclear like it takes place in the desert. We're in a nuclear test site, and that's where the crazy hillbillies or mutants this time comes out of. And it felt like they wanted to say something with it, but then they didn't. They built it up so much, and then nothing really happens with it other than set dressing.
Yeah, they said like nuclear testing's bad, and that's like as far as it went. Like that is what I feel like what they wanted to say, and they thought it was set dressing. But it is, if you've seen the original, it's much needed set dressing. The original is fucking just kind of bland.
Well,
like,
is the original not? I thought they were like. I thought they were mutants because of.
They're just
waste.
They're just hill people.
Yeah,
they're just hill people.
See, that one feels more like rich versus poor, and much more that dichotomy of just like because in the original they were much more like well dressed. They come from rich schools. He's like a paid cop, like a rich cop, the dad. Whereas this one it felt much more relatable, sure, but it lost some of that like. Oh, there was a point here. It didn't do it great. I don't think so. But there was a point in the choices in that film.
Yeah.
Versus this one.
Maybe they might have like done the nuclear piece to like maybe take some of the. That classism thing is kind of interesting to think about, but also I can referencing people as like hillbillies and just like that people who have lower money are gonna come and rape your people and kill them for no reason and like maybe that's why they kind of went with this route around the nuclear stuff. I can see that kind of maybe trying to tame that down.
Yeah, that makes sense because it definitely seems like more shifts the blame to like we created these monsters.
Yeah, it's not their
which I thought worked a little bit better.
And they showed different people from the hills or whatever with different perspectives, right? Like some of them were very aggressive and hostile. Some of them were like more just kind of chilling. Others were, like the little girl, right? Which was super sad that, like she was like helpful.
This is the guy with the giant head. This is the one movie Gat did watch. And I don't know why he gets me every time, but he's just like, why are you laughing? And he's like, it's breakfast time. He's gonna see
yeah.
I will say I would agree with that if it wasn't for the fact that like some of those disfigurements that the mutants have are disfigurements that actual people have. And that's why it felt kind of like to me. Kind of like what Dory said, it felt like it was kind of punching down
but
for
they
no
feel
reason.
they feel like they could exist, and it's like I like that they tried to give them, even though they didn't dig deep into it because it's not about that, but they try to give them context that they're like, you know, the couple generations of these miners that wouldn't leave their land due to nuclear testing. Like I thought, like that was just enough to kind of humanize them, even though they're like these villainous things, and then obviously just the visuals of like 50s fucking nuclear testing, nuclear town. Is cool, but I think it works. I don't know. Alexandra Aja, I kind of got a soft spot for him ever since seeing High Tension when it first came out. I really liked that movie. But just like, I mean, it's not that good, but he does, I respect how bold he is. Like, he just doesn't, like, he's not afraid to kind of go there sometimes. But it's because he comes from the French horror, the French extremity. Yeah. That's where the best.
Right. I think the intensity of this movie is kind of what we did really well when we adapted a lot of early 2000 Japanese movies a few years later after they came out. Mm-hmm. It's like we give them like a more of an edge, I guess. That's kind of like the thing I look for. And it's like I just feel like this movie I feel like I wasn't safe to assume that anyone would live after like the dad was brutally murdered. Like, it's like after that, I'm kind of just like, I don't know who's going to live. And I appreciated that. I thought it was fun. But
this is
the
my
intensity was
proud
the
of
best part.
myself movie, though. I want to say that real quick. Not quick, because like, real quack. But I don't watch shit like this because I knew for sure it was going to be gory and gross. And I kept my eyes open for almost the entire movie.
I'm proud. It is pretty gory.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I will never forget that man fucking falling into a tub of goddamn limbs in my life. So
that's the best part is when he wakes up and he's in the thing the cooler full of fucking dismembered bodies.
No, that part was so dumb because he wakes up in it and it's like, oh no, I'm trapped here, and he just like forces it out. I was like, okay, so that was nothing.
Because the lady just threw him in it. She don't care. She's just like, I don't know, like I got to do something. But I was like, the tiny little clip holding it shut
felt like a scene made just to be like, okay, this is the trailer shot. Where do we put this in the film?
Yeah, no, it is in the trailer too.
Like,
the baseball bat bouncing.
Full of limbs. We want it. Give it to us.
Well,
here you go.
See, the dad getting burned, and then immediately after, the fucking the main baddie, fucking sucking on the milky titties of the mom and then shooting her in the head. I remember when I saw that, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, it shocked me. And it's still...
And the rape piece to it as well. Like, I don't think that... I guess it's unclear if he actually... I couldn't tell if he did or not.
Even if he didn't, he did for all intents and purposes.
Like, it was so, like...
That's assault, brother.
Either way.
Yeah.
Effective.
And but yeah, it's fucking, he comes from this extreme horror background, and so this definitely is like the more American studio version, but I think it works, you know what I mean?
That's definitely the best part of it.
It's
how
not
extreme it is.
And it's not perfect.
And it's got like it really is like, I think that's like where we should end it. Set dressing. That's where it really just, it's like beautiful. Like I'd love to play like a video game in it. I would love to see like an anime in it. Like,
he'll pop up again later, and I'm always his last movie was this movie Crawl with the alligators. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
I'm always sort of rooting for him because I like him, but he's never quite knocked it out of the park for me. So I'm just waiting for him to make that movie that's just like, yeah, that's the one.
Well, speaking of movies we're rooting for,
I'm definitely rooting for this one, buddy. Dude, I'm fucking Leica every day.
Is definitely a studio.
I like this movie, ParaNorman.
Oh, that's gross. Did you watch this, Pablo?
Oh yeah. Oh my god, it's so fun. It's
ParaNorman rocks, man. I love this movie.
I think that's right. Were you the one that was saying there like you love the thickness?
Oh yeah.
Dude, every person in this movie is so thick, and I don't understand why.
I love it.
I love their design is cool. It's like
everyone
they're chunky
is just
in like weird ways too. It's not proportionate.
Oh yeah, all the designs are like so fun.
But it's not like so over the top. It's not like fucking it's not like Tim Burton or something where they have like these crazy proportions. Like they're kind of realistic, but everything's just askew enough. Like even their car, like it looks like a car, but it's like tweaked slightly. Like the fucking production design and just knowing everything's handcrafted. I mean, obviously, if you listen to this podcast, people out there, Jordan and I fucking gush about stop motion every time.
Yeah, like if it can be made, it should be made in stop motion. Like remake Street Trash in stop motion. Like
Yeah,
that's
right.
weird.
That's the
It's
only
like,
way
if
I'll
you're gonna
get
do it.
behind
Have the
for sure.
fucking guts.
Dude, if we were to
Everyone's made
remake-
out of wax. They just melt them with a fucking blowtorch.
If we were to remake every film in stop motion, we would not get films for another like 20 years.
I know. It'd be worth it though
know,
if we just
but
started
dude,
now. 20 years
there's-
from now, just tons of remake. Tons of
I know.
stop motion.
I mean, that's Leica's been around for like 15 years, and they've only made 4 movies or
I know,
whatever. I think
dude.
they're on their like 6th movie.
yeah, it's
And
true.
they were all good though. They were all great.
That's the thing. They're all like that's what I love about Leica so much is like you actually get kind of a fun story, and I love that it's not. It's weird, dude. They're not like as formulaic, and I almost like I dare say they're not as tight as like early Pixar, but
Oh, yeah.
they have like such a fun heart, and they feel kind of like I mean because they are an indie studio, but they actually have that like kind of like what like the blanket term for like indie project is, where it just feels like a group of like 15 kids came together and they like wanted to make like a fun story, and it just they're really cool. Like I don't know, it's
they're
weird to,
really
like,
cool. They're
No,
really
you could
I-
definitely
yeah,
feel
it-
the passion behind these
Oh,
movies,
yeah.
all the movies.
I think
that
that's
they
it.
make.
Yeah,
pretty sure the guy who founded it, I forget his name, but he was like the son of like the Adidas heir. So he had like a ton of money and he loves stop motion, and so they like founded the Leica studio and made Coraline, obviously, is their first one. And they're all good. I don't know. Like this is like now maybe
love
tied
it.
for first place with Kubo for me, but
Well, the thing, Kubo will always be
Kubo
my
is
favorite,
probably
just
top
narratively.
dog still.
Kubo has
Yeah.
amazing fight scenes, so that automatically
Kubo's
wins for
so
me.
good.
Dude, Kubo's got like literally everything. Like where
Kubo,
ParaNorman, it's fun. This is like ParaNorman's a fun like Goonies type, romp where like they're running around and they're discovering the mystery, and you have a little bit of tension.
It's
with,
got
like,
the zombie.
The nerd.
It's just such a cool like horror love letter too. He's watching the zombie
Yeah.
movies. It's got zombies. It's got witches.
That whole like that nostalgia
Salem
for being
town,
someone who
like a town
Yeah,
that's
and
built
he's
on
like-
that.
he's the horror outcast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think that's a good
But-
way of saying it. Like it's a love letter to horror movies.
It does feel like
Yeah.
it for sure.
I just my one thing is I wish they incorporated like the narrative where he can talk. I wish that him being able to talk to specters was like more like constructive to how he like solved problems. I mean, I know he talks to like the spirit and everything at the end, but like I wish that like they helped him more. Like, because it's just basically all it is like that one scene where he just says hello to everybody,
And
and
the
then
zombies.
the end.
And
Yeah.
the whole
Well, and
reason.
the zombies are like they're real. Like they everyone in the town can see them.
Yeah, but
It's so.
they can't understand them.
No, I understand. No, I know that, but I'm just saying, like, I like that, like, he's got this superpower basically, and they didn't really utilize that as much as I thought they could. But I mean, beyond
I know.
like that's just like a small detail. But
even when they
Definitely not as in fun ways.
even when it's obvious something's happening supernatural, there's still like even his dad is still just like, when are you going to give it up with all this, son? And they're like, there's literally a cloud in the sky that's got the face of a witch. There's zombies attacking the town.
yeah,
Maybe listen to me for once. Like I'm the
Right.
guy. It's just funny, like but it's interesting the mob mentality, how it like flips and everything like that. How
Oh, that part was so
that's how
fun.
the zombies turn.
and another awesome, John Goodman.
Oh,
cameo.
so
Yeah.
I was
Well-
about to say this. Like at the beginning when I saw the dad, I'm all like, "Oh man, he kind of looks like John Goodman. I wonder if it's gonna be John Goodman voice." I was like, "Is he? Is it? No." And then they go to the uncle, and I'm all like,
Pendergast or
"Oh my
whatever.
god,
Yeah.
it's John Goodman! Yes, yes,
He's so
He's
good.
here."
And then he's just like, I promise. He's like, that's good enough for me. And he just goes like,
Yeah.
I like that there is like obviously there I'm always gonna be the person that's like I like the social context in this, but like I really like the mob mentality piece of it where like they moved around from like the townspeople like actually kind of being villainous a bit towards the folks, but then also exploring the backstories of the zombies and being like obviously they're pieces of shit as well, but like but everybody is motivated through fear, and I think that just like
yeah, I thought that was like the cherry on top for sure. That's like a lot of where the heart kind of comes from this too, because it's like that, and then like Norman being like capturing him being like the outcast character, and then having him empathize. Like this movie has a lot of empathy, I think, because it's like the townspeople versus the zombies, and they kind of like interchange, and then like Norman is like basically the witch in modern day. Like there's a lot of these parallels
Yeah.
that are just like look at it everywhere. And like you said, it's all of it's fear based. You know what I mean? Like people hate out of fear. You know what I mean? And I think it really captures that really well.
And one part, and probably like the funniest joke of the movie, was the cop going up to that lady and was like, "Hey, you can't shoot at civilians. That's our job." And I'm just like, I laughed for a solid minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, the guy
Too real.
waiting for his chips out of the vending machine. That's the best joke.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah,
that was pretty good.
That's
too.
just
Like
they
it's,
have really
it's
good.
simple, but it's
Their animation practices are like that's really where they thrive on like doing that like expectation and then versus reality. It's amazing. And the one thing I've been pondering it. Leica really strikes the perfect balance between kids movie and adult movie without ever having to go super raunchy or super meta or anything.
Yeah, they don't have to do
really,
like a joke that's like a wink at the like a grown up. It's like it just is. It's a family movie. Like it can be enjoyed
and in the best way possible. Where like I don't know. Where like Arachnophobia kind of like that almost just feels it's like too clean in family. But like ParaNorman,
of course, Arachnophobia is going to suck when you have it in the same conversation as ParaNorman. Get fucked. Like ParaNorman's 1,000 times better.
right. But I just think
100%. I see what you're saying. It is really more encompassing. Like you said, early Pixar. This is the stop motion indie version of that, where it's like a little bit more loose, a little bit different vibes, but still a much heart and innovation. Which rules. I think my only problem is like the problem that comes with all stop motion is a lot of the dialogue just feels really scripted because it's like once you record it, you're fucking locked in because it takes months to animate. So sometimes it feels written, like some of the exchanges feel really written and don't feel natural. But it's I think that's kind of a symptom of some stop motion.
Well, right. I mean, you can't. Not everyone's fucking Wes Anderson, where he shoots the dialogue first, then does the animation
and shoots them all in a room, just fucking yammering with each other. So you get all the unnatural.
He shot him live on location, dude.
Oh, I know.
They filmed the whole movie like on location. It's crazy. But all right.
So anyway, the next movie is Tales of the Hood, which we already talked about, but you guys give us your quick impressions if you want.
I loved it. Oh my god, it was like such a surprise of just like how fun it was and how it talked about deeper Black American social issues in the 90s with such heart, but also it was just entertaining to watch.
Oh yeah, it's like fun, relevant, oftentimes kind of disturbing. Like
disturbing. Oh, I will say
much deeper than I expected.
Oh yeah,
I will say do not watch the sequel, even though it has Keith David.
Well, there's three, or no, there's a third one now that came out like 2012 or something. I think.
No, it was like 2012. Now that was like 10 years ago. They came out like 2022. Yeah.
Oh, is that? Yeah. Okay, that's what
came
I
out.
think.
The third one,
very recent.
Yeah, third one came out like last year, I think.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
I didn't watch all of this movie because I was on a usually drain, but I really wanted to watch this movie because it's been on our list for a long time, and I watched like the last I think 2 vignettes or whatever, and I was like I really liked it. Again, it feels very much like I kind of talked about in the very beginning. It was a joke, but like living a modern day horror, right? Like it takes the horror of life for Black folks and creates a story about it where, I think they make the funniness of it to like draw people in, but there's the seriousness of it so folks can connect to the story, right? So it's like right now we're watching like a fucking genocide happen right in front of our eyes, and what are we doing about it? I feel like Tales from the Hood brings that in with like Black folks and like watching like, well, how are you engaging, right? It has some of those like questions in there, and how do you relate? And I appreciated that a lot.
I watched this really interesting video. You should watch, Victoria. It was like a video essay about that. It's like that genre, and I talked about it a little bit in our episode Afro Surrealism, where it's like takes like their everyday life and like takes it and makes this surreal horror out of it. That like, well, dude, the only person doing it now is like
Hess,
Jordan Peele. Yeah,
I'm excited.
And that other guy.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Hold on.
He clicked out.
I bumped my mouse and I just lost everything. But no, we're good. We're still recording. We're good.
Okay.
We're good.
All right.
All right.
Anyway, that movie's really fucking cool and probably my favorite anthology now. So, me and Jordan talked about it for an hour and change, so go listen to that.
Really quick though, talking about Afro Surrealism, the other person who does a lot of that, who did Atlanta.
Yeah, Donald Glover.
Glover.
Yeah, he's crushing
Yeah.
it, dude. Atlanta's fucking.
And
So
dude,
good.
Boots Riley is the one. I mentioned him.
Riley.
I mentioned him.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Boots Riley's my guy. And then there's this movie. Dang it. What's the one that was like really trippy? Neon Frost, dude. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah, I
mention
heard of
it
that,
last time.
though.
I didn't mention last time. Neon Frost is fucking dope, and I highly recommend everyone go watch that.
Yeah, I want more movies to be in this genre because I think not only are they really good, but like these, I don't know, they're interesting and they actually have shit to say. So, but
Yeah, right. I mean, that's-
Tales from the Hood is surprisingly kind of hits all the notes. It's lightning in a bottle, sort of, because I feel like it'd be really hard to replicate.
They
like
tried.
how good it is, yeah, but like it's funny. It's like got good social commentary. It's fucking actually scary. Good
It's
practical effects. It's
good
got a
horror,
banging 90s rap soundtrack. Ah, man.
Yeah.
So good. Anyway,
Okay.
moving on.
And
So
then the next movie is the most '90s soundtrack you could ever think of.
Psycho.
90s.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably one of the most iconic horror soundtrack, maybe other than Jaws.
Right. I mean, yeah. It's you. I mean, that's Psycho. Psycho influenced every horror soundtrack. It influenced Jaws. Like it's
I don't know what I could
But,
say about Psycho because Pablo hates it, but just because he's a hipster.
I do not. Oh my goodness! Literally, this movie is so above everybody's opinion at this point. It's so ingrained in us, in the social zeitgeist of just like movies in general that like you were about to say, probably like we can't say anything that hasn't already been said.
Yeah, there's mostly. I mean, like obviously, fucking. Oh, wait a minute. Norman, who plays Norman Bates? I'm forgetting his name. Anthony Perkins is super subtle. The fucking tonal shift of the fucking, or like the structural cut in half with the person dying. Super unheard of for the time. It's fucking tense. But man, people always talk about that shower scene, but the fucking her coming out at the top of the stairs, dude, gets me every time. Like,
Wait, was it that when that really weird like fall?
Yeah,
when I was like,
yeah.
that
The
looked
following-
goofy as
yeah.
hell. That
it's
looked
weird, but it's like I don't know. It's
hilarious.
iconic.
the sick crane shot that comes up and then she like
Yeah, the top
comes
down
out.
one, and then he gets slashed in the face, which
and when he falls back down the stairs,
and it's like the projection, the
fucking-
rear
that
projection. Like,
looks so
yeah,
funny.
dude,
yeah, it's
Could
weird.
not take that part
That's-
serious.
that's so sick.
I love
oh
it. Yeah, I
man.
love it. But and
Oh
then,
yeah,
but
you're
unheard of
you,
at the
you
time,
just like
dude.
2000s movies.
I know, right? This fucking loser. I'm just kidding. But Anthony Perkins running in the mom outfit at the end, right when the light gets bumped and the skeleton, and it's just like, that's shocking now. I cannot imagine. Like, I wish I didn't know the twist of this movie. That's like the only thing. I wish I didn't know.
All of the
We have someone here.
Oh
first
shit,
time
really?
Viewer,
And you had no idea? 'Cause
long-time
that's the thing.
listener,
It's like,
first time viewer.
Before I even saw it,
Interesting.
I had no.
Okay.
I knew the twist first time I watched it because it's been parodied a billion times. You know.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I don't know how I, went through my life not knowing the ending of this movie.
That's
but
insane.
I knew about the, well, I didn't know for sure, but I had a feeling that the lady was going to get killed like midway through the movie because I was like, oh, well, now, and especially when she got in the shower, I was like, oh, I guess that she's going to get murdered now, because obviously I've seen that.
That
everywhere.
iconic scene.
But I've never seen the ending, and so obviously this is it's a prototype of what I've seen a ton of movies after this movie that have done something similar. So I was like, oh duh, But I was like, I had half of the understanding of it, and then I was like, oh shit. So like I didn't expect him to come out as mom. And like
he's like, I'm
no,
Norma Bates.
Yeah,
Like,
I was like,
so
that
good.
was really good. I do always have to caveat and that as a mental health professional that like I don't love when they roll these into like plots where they're like, oh, you have like something going on in trauma and dissociative identity disorder.
That's
and we're
the
gonna make
most
that-
dated
Yeah,
part
right.
for sure. This whole movie.
The,
is
yeah.
the
the
whole
end, the spiel at
20
the
minute
end.
fucking monologue from the
The
psychiatrist of
doctor
like
at the
David.
end,
That's,
like,
oh my
whatever.
god, that made me want to vomit. Like,
that's
I was
that's
like,
by
why
far
are you
that's the
doing
one
this?
part. But I give it a pass.
No, I'm a psychology student dropout, and even at that point, I'm just like, no.
No, we
Everything
all,
that
we
you're saying,
all
probably
know
no.
right then too. It didn't need it. You know what I mean? It just didn't need it. I understand
And that-
for the time
that's
period
dated.
they needed a kind of that's dated because audiences, I hate to say it and like be like, oh, we're so much better now, but they really weren't as sophisticated back then. They didn't have Psycho.
And we're
50,
looking at, like,
50
Split
60
does,
years.
like the same villainization as Psycho.
Yeah,
does,
no.
You know. So
Well, back then they were
Well,
just
but
throwing
exactly.
anyone with fucking, they would have thrown any of the chicks from Dark Water or the others in a mental institute back when this movie was made, So their concept on like what is and what isn't good mental health doesn't really fucking work for 1960.
But that's where I feel like to like come to bat for the ending, that's like the most progressive way they could do it, where they're like, well, we're gonna be sympathetic to the man, like it's like these are the fact we have scientific reasons for this, like it's like we don't need to just slap him and throw him in a room, like one thing that I was just like, it was trying to at least be like, oh no, it wasn't that he was just like a sexual deviant, like he was like legitimately.
That's the thing back then. At least like that was more than anyone else was doing.
Like M.
Yeah.
That one.
M was made from a time travel dude.
I can't talk about this movie without mentioning M. M's one of the coolest fucking movies ever. It's
so good. It's so good.
Oh god.
It's like M comes from a time where it's like it's before, like, because the 30s was such a weird time for film where like anything could go, because there weren't really rules yet. And it's like the Hays Code didn't exist. The MPA didn't exist. It's like so weird to like kind of be in this like realm where they just talked about whatever they wanted. And man, the sympathy at the end of M is mind-blowing.
It's insane.
So good.
The podcast on M. There you go, because you've done it.
Yeah, go listen to that episode. I know we're just going to hijack this one and just talk about M some more.
Pre-World War II Germany. Insane. It's ridiculous.
It's
insane, if you haven't seen Psycho out there, everybody, podcast land, go see it, because it's great.
It's Psycho.
That's it.
It's a classic. So Victoria, I'm glad to get like your perspective that's never seen it, but also not like, because I don't remember a time that I didn't know all about Psycho.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I liked it. Yeah, it was definitely effective when he like came out as Norma Bates, and you're like, whoa, like duh, like of course, like I should,
right,
but,
right.
Like,
but they do such a good job at having him like exit stage right, and then it's like pan left, and you're like, well, it couldn't be him. Like,
and the
even
voice, and he's got the fucking.
I'm kind of like, how did he do it? Like, it's like clearly I know narratively it's like makes sense.
Now we
really
know all the tricks. Like we know all the tricks now.
Think about it.
But man,
I told you for 15 minutes how he did it by
but him physically like walking away, and then them going to the house, and then in the house he's there dressed. It's like that kind of thing where it's like, oh man, the timing doesn't make sense. So it's like it's a really good movie. So there you go.
It's a classic, and it holds up. It's ahead of its time. I wish I could have been.
Well, speaking of movies that hold up and are classics, Pablo's got a lot of explaining to do on this next one.
This was Pablo's pick of the month.
We're talking about it.
Yeah. So on Friday, I'm glad because I was in the mood. So on Friday the 13th, it fell in October this year. We watched. Friday the 13th, the final chapter on Friday the 13th. I was there, baby. I was vibes. Yeah. I was as susceptible as I ever would have been.
So open-minded that in my brain
I was
fell
a sponge.
Out.
Yeah, dude, it was empty. I was like, shove your Jason in my skull. Like.
So.
But it didn't work.
So.
I love it. This is Victoria watched this. This is a movie that like she wouldn't even touch with a 10-foot pole, but she was like, "Well, for the sake of pod, we'll do it."
Oh, it's not that. I don't care about Friday the 13th. I just know
slashers.
That I like slashers. I'm like I was like Halloween. Mike Myers is like.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but
I was like, I watch a lot of slashers now. Whatever. He doesn't know me.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Anyway.
Yeah, you like Halloween because
I barely remember this movie. We watched it and I was like, this is. I was bored, and it was just kind of like the same thing over and over again. Even the kills were not all that great. But Pablo, I'm really interested to hear from you.
All right. Well, first thing,
he's a Jason apologist.
Could you? Yes, I am a Jason apologist. I will go to bat for Jason any day of the week. It doesn't have to be Friday the 13th. The kills were great in this film. The kills were like the best part of this film. Savini. Oh my gosh, the VFX were so
Crispin Glover is the best part, and his kill.
I know.
Was cool.
Oh yeah,
the machete to the face.
Was that the yes?
With the corkscrew.
So do you know how they did that shot? So like it was a quick.
Was it reverse?
It was reverse.
Yeah,
and it was just like it was shot
so
well
because he invented.
We're going to talk about Evil Dead in a minute.
Dawn of the Dead. Tom Savini invented it with Dawn of the Dead. The same exact shot. The reverse with the fucking machete when they're killing the zombie in the mall.
That's where I'm like this. When I saw Tom Savini's name on this, I was expecting arm chopping. I was expecting so much fucking blood and practical effects.
Because by then
and,
it
like,
was so accepted. He's like
we got so little in this.
he's
in my
deep into
opinion.
his
And
career at this point, deep into the
Yeah.
franchise at this point. That's known for this. To
'Cause, like,
where they're
Maniac-
out of the video
Maniac had-
nasties era, right? Like I expected more violence. The violence that
too.
was there was solid, but
Yeah.
So I'll say this about the film. This is my probably second time watching it, and yes, I fully agree. The first half is so slow. And Friday the 13th, like none of their films are great films. Like you can argue a few of them are like very like watchable. You can go like find a list or whatever of like which ones to watch. The best is like the mythos and like the buildup of this character and how much like the fan base like
his presence.
like
He's
his
got
presence.
a presence, which I can
I'm
appreciate
happy that he exists in the slasher universe. I
Oh, yeah.
do really like Jason as the idea, and I love even his origins of it. It's like his mom was more heavily involved, and all like it just sucks that like
I think
every
we
movie
will-
at a whole is
we
kinda
like
rough. I don't know.
Jason, but we just don't. I don't feel like any movie has done Jason credit. Like he's better than any movie he's ever been in, and that's the only reason that he keeps being like they keep making Jason movies is because Jason rules, but every fucking Friday the 13th movie sucks.
I think saying sucks is a bit too much.
It's
But
hard. It's
no,
harsh,
they
man.
are what they are, and it is. I would say with this movie specifically, it is the point, kind of like what you said in your Reddit comment, where it felt like it was a parody of itself, but it isn't. I'm like, no, that actually was the point when they were making this film. It was almost just like a parody of just like, we know what Jason is, we know what people want. They want the kills. Yes,
The sex too. It's like that the
like
teenage
the dumb
sex
teenage,
romp.
like the teenagers were just there just to be killed.
I agree, but also at this point, like you're one of the leading franchises driving this genre forward, like that created it, and so it's just like I'm not asking for like I don't have the same expectations I did for Psycho that I do for Friday the 13th Final Chapter,
Or even other slashers like
Or even-
Halloween.
but watching all the slashers has made me gain a way deeper appreciation for Halloween, because in this one it's like. Not every conversation in this is about sex. And even the little kid, like, it's just like,
Dead fuck.
I know, but it's just like, to what end? Like, I don't know. Like, it gets to a point where it's just like, I get it. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It didn't have anything to say. And then it's like, they spent so much time building up, what's his face's character, the kid. Why am I forgetting his name?
The actor. He got.
Why am I forgetting his name?
Yeah, he got touched a ton.
Yeah, he's in the Goonies.
Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman, yeah. They built so much time building him
I
up
forgot.
as making these like spooky masks, and you think
His masks are fucking amazing. Yeah.
you think he's gonna do something with
Tom
it,
Savini,
but then he
you know?
just shaves his head and is like, "Hey, I'm Jason," which is the exact same thing that happens in the Friday the 13th Part 2, but doesn't work, and is better because she dresses up as his mom, and then it doesn't work, but it works this time, and I'm like. He didn't even put on a fucking cool mask or something. Like, I don't know. It just felt like
He definitely put
so
on
many
makeup.
wasted opportunities.
He put on makeup at least.
Yeah, kind of.
And I will say, I know you guys haven't seen.
How does
most of
he
it.
know what he looked like?
Hang on.
I guess he saw that picture.
I know you guys haven't seen like the other films, but he does come back. The kid does come back, and then as an adult in Jason Returns, Jason Lives, or whatever, and he gets a bit more character development. I actually think he may or may not make it through that film. I don't remember,
I've
but
heard he comes back.
that's the thing of the mythos of like, oh, this is the origin of. I forgot the character's name. I'm sorry. I'm not that big of a Friday the 13th fan. I'm sorry.
Tommy fucking something.
No,
Yeah.
you're-
Tommy Jarvis.
you're
Tommy
good.
Jarvis.
Tommy Jarvis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good name. It's such a
That
good
is a
name.
good name.
And he comes back in like the films building up that character. So they don't just. He's not just one and done in
That's
this film.
fine. The best Friday the 13th movie though is the one he
no.
shares with Freddy versus Jason.
Even that.
Freddy versus Jason, especially in retrospect, is pretty solid.
Versus movies are a
It's
completely
Jason
different
in space.
topic.
Everyone knows it.
I know
Just-
Jason X is actually I do like Jason
I
X.
was joking. I have never seen that movie.
No, I mean it's like I saw that movie when I was younger and it just was it's fun.
Well,
I don't know, it's
that's
cool.
the thing. It's like Jason X. They took it to the extreme as a joke. It's a fucking meme movie before meme movies were a thing.
Yeah.
But like they're like, fuck it, let's go into space. And it's like
Well, and
that's what I was
that's-
saying about this one, is it's like they feel like that, but not really, because they don't ever go far enough with it to be self-aware. It just is that. It feels lazy. I don't know, to me.
It does. I will say though, the best part of this movie is that dude's dancing. Dead fuck's dancing.
Yeah,
That was
Dude,
great.
Chris, I know. I was thinking about Jordan the whole time and his weird obsession with Crispin Glover.
I love Crispin Glover, dude. And in this movie, he was a weird, pudgy kid that I barely recognized him, but then I was like, oh man, Crispin Glover's so good. He's so weird.
Pudgy's a good word because he's not fat, but he's like he's doughy in weird places. I don't know. Something about this movie, man. He's
You know what's probably more interesting than most of the Friday the 13th films that you should definitely check out is the making of a lot of these films.
Oh, I'm
is
sure.
absolutely fascinating,
Well, dude,
especially the final
that's the thing.
chapter.
I definitely, that's the thing I love about these movies is it kind of has that like, Blumhouse effect where it's like, they know they're like, okay, we got like $300,000. We can shoot the shit out of this movie and it'll make $1 million, back. And so it's just kind of like, they're like, let's just keep it going. And
I get.
we can
I
kind of do
respect
whatever
that.
we want with it. And so, that's where I'm saying, like, I respect Jason as he exists in the ether of slasher. I think that making ofs would be cool. And I was mentioning this off mic, but I think it would be cool to get like compilations. And if you, Pablo, have any like YouTube videos that you watched where, people went down and kind of broke down a compilation of like his narrative with the kills, I think would be really cool. Like to get like a full, if somebody made like an official cut of all the movies together, kind of, I don't know, like you don't need each movie to exist on its own. I think you could edit this together and make it a lot tighter and cooler. But
it's true.
it's
like a streamline, because it's like if you're not there, if you're there for just the kills and everything, and the filmmakers are there for just the kills, then obviously the tension doesn't work because we don't care about the characters, and so all the
and I don't feel like there is
leading
tension
up to it's scary.
Yeah.
I do think
That's why I can't
These
defend
movies
this
are-
movie, because it's the same problem that I have with Dawn of the Dead. I'm like, I don't care about these characters because they're kind of just
well,
assholes.
it's okay to not care about the characters, and I don't even I think that's fine when that's not your purpose. Which this is obviously not trying to make a character like Friday the 13th is not trying to do that. It's just the tension. Like I don't know. It's like trying to build up these horror suspense moments. But you know why? This is a take your scared date to the drive-ins movie. That's what this movie exists for.
It's definitely like
No,
a
this is
summer.
a teenage.
You're making
it's a
out, you're not
teenage-
paying
it's a
attention.
teenage movie.
Everyone's
Yeah.
talking about sex, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Gah!" He just breaks in the door
Or just
and
have
fucking
it-
kills Crispin Glover in the face, and like you're great. You're stoned at the drive-ins. and
No, you
making
know where
out,
I would put this movie on?
your
I would put
your high
this-
school sweetie in the 80s.
I would
that's it.
put this movie on in the background of a Halloween party. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Friday the 13th. It's a long, complicated thing. Well, Jordan's gonna watch all the movies, and he's gonna do a whole thing
Next
about
month, full Friday the 13th.
it. Next month, we're
I will, yeah.
We're skipping
I'll make my
Westerns.
super edit.
Yeah, Jordan's gonna make the super edit. Did you didn't watch this one, Victoria? Right? You said?
What is it? 30 Days a Night?
No.
Is that the next one?
Yeah. Yes. She did not watch it.
Friday the 13th.
Which is. Oh, I thought we were going to. No, she watches
Okay.
Friday the 13th.
Oh, she just didn't say anything about it. But we can
Yeah.
move on from it.
Oh, that's
No, she said something.
Yeah, she said it was
All right.
boring.
Anyways,
I said it was boring.
Yeah, that's
that's
pretty
I
boring.
guess that's all you
go
need,
back
right?
and go back to listen to the podcast.
That's it.
So
all you
on
need.
30 Days a Night, I'm sad that you didn't watch this, Victoria, because you could have handled it 100%, and I think you would have probably enjoyed a little bit of it. But
I don't think I would have enjoyed it. I didn't watch it, but I think I could have handled it. But
you 100%.
either way,
It's only really gory in like 2 scenes.
And it like even the only scene in my
At the
opinion
end.
that's like gory is the axe murder.
The
and
good,
that's like,
the good axe murder at the end is so.
and
good.
that is a great axe murder. But man, this movie just fucking rambles on for no reason. It's like
I'm
there is
surprised.
so
I
there's
watched
so
this movie
much
because of
like
you.
sneaking. What's the thing? I remember loving this movie because in my brain, what your beautiful brains do out there is you take the parts you like in a movie and you shrink it down. You're like, oh,
We
2 hour
talked about
pretty. I remember that being like pretty good.
In
pretty, it
retrospect,
moved pretty good.
The highlights
But-
are high points in this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like all
But
the
there's
things
a
I
lot
like
of
about this
slog.
movie, I still love every part that I love about this film. But there is literally like 40 minutes of this movie that is them hiding and moving around
Yeah.
and trying to so a lot of movies elapse time pretty well, but this movie took 30 days and made it feel like 30 days. Like it was fucking crazy. Like they really were like, it was like, like day one. And then like, I'm like, oh my God. And like, they're still in the attic, but then they can move around wherever they want as easy as they want. And I understand you can argue that the vampires were they kind of worked like a pack animal, you know, and they were totally like playing with them and, you know, cat and mouse. But like there were so many people who are like, I've been hiding under this car for 3 days and like, you know, didn't get found yet. I don't know. It just those parts bothered me so much, but I still like this movie and I recommend it. And it's definitely not as gory as I remember. I thought there was like
it's
blood.
pretty.
I mean, blood spray.
It's pretty bloody, but it's not gory. It's just like a lot of blood flying from off camera, kind of.
Which is like, I don't know. You watched frickin' Dead Alive. Dead Alive is like, that's like.
Well, they use tomato
like
soup in Dead Alive, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know. For sure, but
Dead Alive is literally the gore period, and so it's like Dead Alive's the one where he like kills all the people with the lawnmower and the big mom at the end. Yeah. Remember the big mom puppet at the end?
The baby zombie
throwing up in the womb and stuff.
You
watched it. Anyway,
I kick ass for the Lord, you know.
Yeah. But anyways, 30 Days a Night, I will just say that it was the parts that are beautiful, I will remember forever, and I loved them. But this movie is definitely too much of a slog. Yeah,
I remember really liking it, and then this time I watched it, and I'm like, it's pretty solid because, again, it's another mid-2000s horror movie from our youth that is, it's got a lot of really good, it's got a good build-up and, like, some good moments, I wish Ben Foster was the main character because he's so good and everything, and he's by far the best part about this movie. And this
they did him dirty in this movie. Like, not even like gave him anything good to do. Like he was chained up for half of it. It's like, ugh.
I know, but his acting's always so good, man. I don't know. And I feel like he did just rot his teeth out for that role. Just actually got scurvy for the role because he is that kind of guy. I love Ben Foster, but I don't know. This is another symptom of 28 Days Later where they're like, let's take this old school monster and make it fast and brutal and like just fucking strip it down.
Well, wasn't this based off?
Yeah, this is a comic
graphic novel.
Yeah.
I will, and that's Ben Stempleton or whatever, Ben Templeton or what's his name. I'm so mad. Remember, you met him and got my comic book signed.
I went to the comic
because I love him, and I like 30 Days a Night is a sick ass comic. And this is a decently faithful adaptation, but I mean, the pacing in the comic book is a million times better.
What was the other comic? It was like Snow, right?
Fell.
Yeah.
And so, dude, yeah. Oh my god.
Anyway, I don't know. This movie, I think it as far as like all the other movies being very digital from this era, I thought fucking, Dawn of the Dead looked kind of like shit. Hills Have Eyes kind of worked, but it was overdone, I think, with the color correction. It's so yellow. This movie sometimes looked really good for digital, and then sometimes looked like ass. Like sometimes the digital, especially like
the parts that look like
the digital blood, I forgot about until watching it. Yeah. And then like the day for night stuff and the super, I don't know why they discovered when they could do digital. Again, 28 Days Later. It inspired everything for better or worse in the 2000s.
I know,
but the shutter, the whole shutter speed
everything
thing,
right,
and like that.
I know.
So bad. That looks so bad.
I hate it when movies do that, except for 28 Days Later. Which rules.
You were the one that mentioned the end fight, right?
Dude,
in your Reddit?
Oh my goodness!
It's so bad.
It's so bad.
I like it, but it's bad. It is bad.
So as an action movie and fight connoisseur,
like you just bops him.
Oh my goodness, that was the most limp dick fight I've ever seen. Like two badass vampires about to go on this flame ring showdown, and they're just I literally paused the movie and had to back up to be like, wait, what just happened? Did he grab a
Yeah.
He punched him?
He punched him in the
That
mouth.
was very unclear.
Well, the buildup is so cool too because he injects himself and he's like
a badass.
He's like, I'm a vampire, and he's like dun, 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 and it's got the music as he's walking, and it's fucking cool. And then they're just like, cha,
and you get that that's they wanted to do that in the movie, but they did it bad.
Yeah,
they did it like you thought it was going to be a cool, fun battle, and then it they subvert your expectations. Cool, but the digital fire looked disgusting. It was so fast and so clunky, and
the
it
digital.
Just was I was like, oh, it didn't work, and it's so bad.
It's a shame because the digital, him punching through was really digital and shitty looking, and the CG was bad.
That could have worked though.
But if they limp dick's a good way to put it.
It's a cool kill, but.
Because nothing has the impact, and then when he punches him, you can tell he's just kind of punching through air, and they composited it,
Well, you can't even tell what was happening, and this is what. And I will say,
would have done like an actual prosthetic and punched through it.
Not even that. It's just like Western filmmakers just do not know how to film action or fights.
Sometimes,
and very rarely, but most of the time it's just like, okay, cut, okay, and like, all right, he's about to punch, cut, and impact, cut, and that's what's like. I couldn't tell what was happening half the time.
Well, it's just the inconsistency. So you have the shootout scene, like the above shot in the town is all practical and looks really great. Then you have shots of them shooting a guy and they just delete his head and do digital blood. Then you have the fucking coolest axe murder scene done with a prosthetic where they fucking chop the dude's head off.
That was done well.
And it looks so good because they used good practical effects. But then in the climax, they use shitty digital. It's just like, I don't know, like, I almost would have rather them take the practical, but if they couldn't do it, just like be consistent, because it's like high. That's the thing about this movie. It's like really high notes and then really low notes. Like it kind of, it's like you're like, oh, that's fucking sick. That is a cool shot. Ben Foster, yeah, buddy. And then you're like, oh, that day for night with the shutter speed is really bumming me out. You know what I mean? Well, and then you're like, oh, that's cool. And then no, that sucks.
The same thing happened when that guy was like on the bulldozer or the tractor or whatever, like going through, and it's just like constantly cut. And I'm all just like, stop, pull back, and just show me what's happening, please.
That's the thing. They do it in the huge wide shots, and that's what the inconsistency. It's like sometimes it feels like, I don't know, two different people making the movie almost, like two teams.
I mean, that's usually how films are made, right?
Well, they lacks the creative vision of like a solid, because David Slade directed this, and I like him.
No, but sometimes you got that.
I think this movie suffered in the editing room for sure, because that's
post. They're like, we'll do it in post. It's 2007. We could do anything.
But also sometimes, like for like the big action shots, you do have like a second director. I forgot, like a B director to film all like, okay, here's the action shots. Sometimes. You handle your stuff, and we'll handle all stuff. And that's why I feel like maybe it was like done by two directors, because it was like a lot of action scenes, a lot of action set pieces in this film.
I just feel like some stuff, I don't think that is necessarily the case, because it's usually little stuff, but I do think that they prioritize some shit and really didn't others. I do feel like Jordan said, they're like, we'll fix it in post. We'll just edit it together and it'll look fine. And then the poor editor probably was like, oh man, what I got? Like, this is the shots they got. They just dumped all this footage on me.
This is something that I think we will talk about. I know I keep jumping to Rosemary's Baby, but that movie feels so timeless, and where these movies, like, I don't know, it's something they go for, and they looked really good in their time, but then they just don't age as well. And that's kind of the mid 2000s.
Yeah, because back then I didn't notice it as much, because it's like it was pretty good, but it's dated, and
it's just part of the time. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Movie that was part of its time, and.
So speaking of product of its time, right? The next movie that we didn't take a break on is The Prowler, which this is probably my biggest disappointment.
Most forgettable, forgettable film, most forgotten film.
See, I'm disappointed because it started off really strong, especially after having just recently watched Friday the 13th Final Chapter. I was like, oh, nice. Like this is
the same director.
Same director. And Tom Savini's on it.
Film.
Yeah, earlier.
Feels earlier.
Yeah.
It is earlier.
Earlier film. And the Tom Savini's work on this is great. I'm thinking of Maniac. Never mind. But same.
He did. Tom Savini did too.
He did. That's what I'm saying. He did so many, because he did Prowler. But I remember thinking
he did every horror movie of the fucking 80s, man. Like
I know, really though. But
yeah, no, he's goated.
He is.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he's Tom Savini. You can't talk horror without mentioning.
Have you seen? What we should have watched for remakes is the Night of the Living Dead. Tom Savini directed.
His directed. I know. Yeah,
it's really good. Maybe next year.
But the Prowler, I think my highlight on the Prowler, aside from how that's okay. God, the whole reason I hate this movie is because it got me hyped 100%. The first 15 minutes when I thought it was going to be a 1940s slasher film.
Can you imagine? So cool.
I was just like, holy shit! I didn't expect this. I'm like, where are they going to go with it? And then they cut and they go present time, 1980 or whatever. And I was like, oh.
It was a disappointment, but it was disappointment after disappointment, because it was like, the first third I thought was okay. Like, yeah, I was hoping the 40s was fucking dope, and the pitchfork kill with the rose and like the fatigues, like it was all working maybe.
All of it.
And so I was like, hell yeah, this is what I need. And then I'm like, oh, okay, it's 80s, that's disappointing, but let's see where they go with it. And they kind of build it up, and they're immediately proactive, which I liked. They're not like just waiting around to mysteriously get killed and then finally in the third act be like, oh no, something's happening. Like they're like, something's happening. And like the shower kill and the head stab are all dope. But then it just kind of like they just don't know where to go with it. And after the pool scene, which by then I was already losing patience, but the pool scene was like after everything after that was like, why? I don't know. They're just running around in and out of the same house.
The back and forth between like her needing to go to the room and back to the room and like spilling cocktail sauce on her dress and going back to the room and coming back. And then meeting the neighbor. That was like the saddest like red herring or just it like the neighbor like did nothing.
You're talking about the old war vet that they're in the wheelchair?
The guy in the wheelchair was like such a big part of the movie.
And then he never shows up again. Like, what is he doing?
Nothing. Nothing. He literally doesn't. He's sitting there and he's like, oh, in the bush or whatever. And then like, she's like, oh, you creep me out because you're old. And then like, nothing. He doesn't exist, period.
Oh, so this, again, this reminds me, I forgot to mention on Friday the 13th, it's the same problem with this. So on Friday the 13th, the mom just vanishes and is never mentioned again. It feels like there's deleted scenes, which I think there is. If you don't remember, the mom is there and then she's just gone off camera.
I don't remember her at all.
Because I rewound it to be like, what happened to her? And literally she like finds the dog and is like, oh no. And then she's never in it again. Same thing with this movie. This feels like there's a lot of shit that maybe got cut out. I hope. Because that's the only thing that makes it acceptable. Because like at the very end, it just feels like they forgot about shit that was supposed to come back, and then it just never did. And like the guy, the deputy, he's like gets knocked out and dragged away by the Prowler, which has no reason not to kill him, but doesn't. And then he just is not there in the climax at all. And it doesn't ever explain what happened to him. And then he's just there at the end when it all wraps it up. He's like, "Yep, I guess we got I can't believe the Prowler was the fucking sheriff. Whoa!" Even though it's the most obvious thing ever.
It was the most obvious. The second the sheriff was like, nobody, I mean nobody, bother me. I'm a fisher, and I'm going to fish all the fish that ever fished.
Oh, yeah.
And that's me.
Me and you were talking about this
man.
off camera. I was like, oh, I knew it was him because maybe I've just seen too many horror movies now when they try to be, because Faculty does this later, I'll talk about, but where it's like, they say something in the script that's supposed to be like foreshadowing in hindsight, and then you're like, oh, that's the killer. Where literally the deputy's like, oh, I got to get back or the sheriff's going to kill me. Like basically looks in the camera. I'm like, oh, it's the sheriff.
Yeah, might as well just have big flashing letters that say foreshadowing.
Yeah, literally. And it's like, that's supposed to be a moment that's like, oh, it is the sheriff, bro. But it's like, I've seen so many movies that I'm just like, come on.
I know.
Man. Like,
I mean, Scooby-Doo did it, dude. That's, I mean,
it
the
is
amount of movies
Scooby-Doo
that I've compared to Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo's the real goat.
Yeah, yeah.
That's comparable for sure. I will say though, best part of this movie was the old Kurt Cobain special that they got him at the end.
Yeah,
it was so cool.
Oh yeah,
that made me go, oh, that was badass. Holy shit!
Fucking blows his head off with the shotgun. Yeah.
Scanners.
Yeah, yeah. Maniac. Did you watch Maniac? We'll talk about that. That was the best part of the OG Maniac. All the shotgun.
Did you watch Maniac? Because that is
that's
part.
Another Tom Savini special that he did in Dawn of the Dead, where he just hooked up a shotgun to a fucking prosthetic head and blew it up.
Yep. You just shoot it.
He did
you
it
just
in this.
Really shoot a
He's
thing
playing
with a
all the
shotgun.
hits. Yeah, that's what he does. He did it in Maniac, which this and Maniac came out in the same year. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, he's doing his thing, which is reckless by today's standards, but you got to appreciate the DIY, baby.
Well, yeah,
but I don't know. This movie,
no
it was. I didn't know if I expected more, but it did. It started off with a bang, so it's unfortunate.
Did you watch this, Victoria?
No,
okay.
not because I
That's all right.
I could. I just didn't have the time.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't. Yeah, I remember this was. Oh, that's right. This was
shocking. The movie called The Prowler. The sheriff was the Prowler.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty forgettable.
I know, right?
You got anything else to say? I don't have much else to say.
It was very forgettable. The only thing that I would like to say, something about this felt off. It's just like the atmosphere of it just felt like this was not a Halloween film.
It's
this
so
was
basic. It's just like
this is a summer film that you would watch, like you said, like at the drive-in, like summer late night with a date, not giving a fuck about the actual movie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's just like some random dance to have an excuse for young kids to get together at this fucking town that has no personality. It's just like, I don't know. If you're going to make, I feel like that's the thing that slashers, because we've been watching a lot of slashers and like killer movies this month. That's the biggest thing. If you're going to make a slasher, the thing that needs to stand out is it needs to have personality. It needs to know what it's doing, because at least Jason, he's got a presence and it's got a vibe. This movie didn't quite have that. Like the fatigues were kind of like cool for a couple times, but I don't know.
And if you go the Footloose route, where it's like the town is like hasn't had a dance since the big murder, and then you finally have a big dance, and it just so like they're literally just like, oh wow, we're having a big dance. Can you believe that? Since we haven't had one since the murder. I know that the big murder that happened, 80 years ago. Now we're finally having a big dance, and everyone in town goes, yeah, you guys are so lucky you're having the big dance. Hope nobody gets murdered on the big dance night.
Yeah.
And then
and no one does at the dance. I don't know.
yeah, I know, right?
The random fucking repairman is the one that shows up, and Deus Ex saves the fucking final girl who can't open a door to save her life, which is like the most frustrating in this movie.
Yeah,
I forgot to mention this. Sorry. During the Final 13th, but these are the types of films that like have like a lower quality to them that could benefit from a remake of like a Evil Dead 2013 style remake of just like,
dude,
just make it over the top and make it fun. You can do both.
Yeah, and make it like, you can get away with more hyper violence these days too. It's just like, go to your audience. I don't know. Like, it's like, I do think there's space. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to see a Prowler remake unless it was set in the 40s. Well,
but and we'll get to Maniac in a minute, where Maniac has like the same budget and style, but I feel like it's just a better. I mean, I don't know. Character studies kind of work a little bit better too than when you have like an ensemble. But anyways,
okay. Yeah, fuck Prowler. We're moving on.
Let's go to the next movie that really is close to. It's like in the running for being like a sleeper hit for me that I didn't expect to like, or even I didn't even expect anything out of. And the whole entire time, I was like, every scene that happened, I was like, I love this, and I'm confused.
Yeah. The Love Witch.
Exactly. I feel the exact same way.
Oh, I'm glad you actually watched The Love Witch. I thought that was one you didn't watch.
No, I watched it.
It's
it looks beautiful.
Oh God, it's one of the best looking movies of the month.
And it's one of the best written movies, or at least one of the best. Like, it is the homage and the attention to detail is so good. And like I said, I compared this to Black Dynamite in the sense that it's taking its subject matter so seriously, but yet knows exactly how to emulate that time period and what it's doing. And it's just
it's committed to the bit.
It's so committed to the bit, but everybody plays their part so perfectly that I'm like, God, it's cool. It's so seamless. And it's one of those movies I mentioned that I need a rewatch on this with my full attention to see if I can get it. But it's like I was pleased the whole way through.
I think it's like its homage to the 60s is like it is end up being like kind of I don't know, psychedelic in the way that it's like hard to kind of follow and doesn't really have like a for set meaning. By the end of it is more experimental, especially like near the end. Like you got the ending scene, which is so good, where it goes like back into the Ren Fair fantasy, where you can't hear anything except for like the rustling and like the hooves and stuff. It's so good. But man, you watched this, right, Victoria?
Yeah, so
I did. I really liked it. Yeah.
So I'm glad that you brought up the final scene, because it was definitely one. And I'm glad that we have Victoria on here, because I definitely want a woman's opinion on this movie, of just like the very ending scene of what is it trying to say with sexism and
I don't know, it needs
just
a rewatch,
women
man.
in general.
That's where I'm like, I need a rewatch to see if I get it.
Like at the very end, I was just very confused. Like, so what is it trying to say? Is it trying to say like the only way for as a man, like not to get her, is just to be a narcissist and not have all in love? Is it saying that women should like absolutely be using sexuality all the time, and it's okay to use your body however you please, or what? What is the point?
Especially to be a witch.
Yeah, that too, and to
I
be
like
a total dick about it, and to just be like, yeah, no, I can do whatever I want because women were suppressed.
Well, I don't know. I don't have like it's saying this kind of hot take or something like that. I don't know that it was like, I don't know exactly what was going on with it necessarily, but I think what I liked about it was like the juxtaposition between like Elaine's like, you know, like her ideals around like how you treat a man, right? And so like that's how you obtain love versus like the wife. No, I don't know the wife's name. That ends up getting, she gets murdered at the end, right? Where she's like, you know, she's like, oh, that's so silly, like, you know, it was like more of like a modern day, like, what are you talking about? Like, you're like off your rocker, like being like, you give the man whatever, and you know. But then I think it's that juxtaposition is awesome, and then also like later on, you've got like the juxtaposition of her being like, you give the man whatever he wants, right? But then she, like, it's never enough for her, right? Whatever it is isn't enough for her, so she ends up killing them, right? So I don't know. I thought that was a really cool point, but I don't have any like, oh yeah, this is what the movie was trying to say. I just enjoyed it in general.
What I'm saying is like, you don't feel like it was kind of trying to make a point and then backtrack, because I feel like a lot of movies do this, especially like movies like let's say Men, where it tries to talk about feminism, sexism, and things like that, and at the end it's just like, so you have some ideas, but I don't feel like you're really trying to say anything with them. Just like with, you know,
I don't think it's
I feel like that was a lot more like out in your face though.
No, that's super true. No, absolutely.
No, this definitely feels, I mean, Men definitely feels like it was made by a man trying to talk about that, and this definitely feels like it was at least made by a woman, you know what I mean, trying to talk about it. And it's like, I feel like, I don't know, like it's not like a thesis, like it's trying to have this whole grand point. It's just like, you know, it's art. It's like, I feel like this is I forget her name, but the creator's like, it's like, here's all my thoughts on this, because it really did sometimes, especially during the dialogue, it's like, there's the whole scene where they're like describing what witches do, and it's like pretty long, and you could tell that it's just like, oh, she's just getting out her shit about witches, you know what I mean? And it's like, I could tell that that's a moment that's just trying to break that down and kind of talk about it and explain it, what in real life, what like someone who follows kind of that lifestyle is more like, you know. And I thought that all felt more really real, and we'll talk about later. This felt the most similar to like Ganja Hess, because it definitely felt like it was more like, it did feel like the writing was like a singular vision. Like it was definitely more like, here's all my shit about all this, you know what I mean? It wasn't trying to make like a big grand, like, oh, let me wrap it up and like, this is, I solved feminism or whatever. You know what I mean? Like Barbie or something. Like well, I told Mary I wish she would have watched it with me, because we watched a couple trying to sell feminism as a brand movies this year. Right. And I'm like, this movie actually felt like it like wanted to say shit, but wasn't trying to be like, it is literally like, this is just my opinion on it. You know what I mean? But not like, I don't know.
And that's the question I'm trying to ask.
Just playing around with like power dynamics around it, right? Like that's what it felt like to me. Not like here's this grand message, but more like, here are the power dynamics at play in general. And we're going to twist them in this story and kind of like flip them on their head a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing that got me was like the ending of just like, oh man, the guy kind of he just fucking got killed. I thought they were gonna go for like toxicity meets toxicity, and that was like the best wrapped up for them.
Well, that's why I like Elaine keeps getting kind of broken down. Like there's this mystique about her earlier on where you're like, oh, she's this witch, right? That this guy loves her so much. Her fucking love spell went too hard. It killed him with emotion. You know what I mean? Man's greatest weakness is emotion. And fucking killed him. But then it's like, as it goes, it's like you realize it's just like how broken she is. And it's just like, I like this. She just basically like, life imitates art. Like she just is like addicted to love and craves love. And she just is like, you know what? Just cuts his fucking heart out. You know what I mean? It's right, like, that's right. And then lives in the fantasy of the princess being like the heralded and being the queen. You know what I mean? You
know what this movie feels like? It feels like a Midsommar or sure. A24 film.
Sure. Definitely got a folk, folk vibe that I like.
Yeah. This movie is perfectly satirizing the decade that it's trying to emulate, but it chooses to put itself in kind of like this weird fictitious, you know, like kind of over exaggerated space where like it's present time, but like it's not. It's, you know, there is no definitive time period.
Yeah,
of
it's like
this
outside
film.
time. Like there's like she drives the classic car, but the cop cars are like modern. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Well,
It's
and
like-
there's a cell phone used.
Oh, yeah.
but then like the occult is like such a powerful aspect of this, where it's like the occult exists, and then she's in a different realm where she's a witch that is kind of, you know, a little more. I mean, she's selfish, but kind of more working on herself too, and that allegory of like feminism. But I don't know, you know, it just.
I think the major question that we all needed to address really is: was that the Charmed house? Because it looked like the house from Charmed.
I know, right?
Holy shit! I didn't even think about that.
It's gotta be. Yeah.
God, I haven't thought about Charmed in forever. It's gotta be, right?
But I do. I just think she like.
This is cool.
She
It's a cool
plays
movie.
it perfectly, and it's written so well. And like I said, I want to rewatch to see if like I want her to make a little bit more sense as her character, because like you said, Pablo, like it's like kind of what's the moral of it? Who at the end of it is like, okay, is just the cycle continues, and she just kind of has these bodies, but like I feel like the end kill is a little more intimate. So
Yeah, well, it doesn't feel as feature complete. It does feel like an earlier film. Like it's got a lot to say, but it doesn't like want to like take a full stance. And since that, it's a little disjointed. But I think it's really good, and I really want to see what other films that she makes, because obviously this one is really well made and really beautiful. But it doesn't feel like completely realized. But I think that does go back to like a lot of 60s psychedelic movies where they're like, no, it's the moment, it's raw, man, like it's just like that's what it is. And so I think it really kind of works for that. I don't think it'd work as necessarily as well if it was shot in a more boring way, but obviously this is probably front runner for best cinematography. So
Yeah, so psychedelic is the perfect word for it. It is. God, it's
well,
it's
I mean,
such
I
a
fell in love
beautiful
with
movie.
Elaine, dude. When like I get kind of weird when it's like there's movies where it's like someone is like being erotic to the camera for so long, like sex, like we've talked about sex scenes in the past and stuff, and like they're obviously very functional in this movie and serve a purpose to the story and the character, but like her like stripping to the camera with like the light reflecting the way it is,
Dude,
I was like
that, like,
uncomfortable but like hypnotized in a way, and I was like,
the
nice,
kaleidoscope,
It's so
the
cool.
kaleidoscope, and she does like, it's like she's like shrouded in her hair, but like so just like free and open, and it just like it's so like out of place, but like fits perfect. It's I love this movie.
Yeah, I
It's
think it's pretty cool, and it's definitely one that if I have the patience, I'll want to watch again one day. You know what I mean?
No.
I gotta see what.
We're
Moving
speaking of cinematography, we can move ourselves over here to One Cut of the Dead.
on. Pablo didn't watch this one.
I did not watch it. Both
Oh,
of the
well, Levi,
Japanese
this is me
movies
and
I
you
did
then.
not watch.
Wow.
I also did not watch it.
This Levi, we finally I finally got to watch this. Thank you for the recommend. It's fucking amazing, and I highly recommend this to anybody. And Victoria, you could watch this because it is not a zombie movie in the slightest.
No.
And
This is not even a horror movie. This is just like a love for horror movies again, kind of.
yeah, and this is like, this actually is, if anyone is ever like, oh hey, what's a oneer, or what's a really long shot, like, I mean, I guess Children of Men would probably be one of the best movies to watch for this, but like for like an attainable, just independent budget one shot, this movie is the perfect, like, it shows you exactly how to do it,
And it's
in
so
many different ways. And
all the mistakes
it's great.
are so planned that's what's, because it's like it's just as good on a second watch, maybe even better. But it's like the first half hour is this chaotic one shot, and then everything else after that is kind of like a more generically shot kind of thing. But it's so clever in the writing, because you're like, every little bit is like, some of it's planned, and then it's like this whole other meta level where it's like, oh, that was planned, and then oh, that wasn't planned in the narrative, but obviously because this is a film, it was planned to look not planned to be planned again.
Basically,
like, I don't know. It's super clever, and it really works. And it makes you feel fucking smart too, and it's fun.
It does, yeah.
Like, watching it's funny. You kind of get the characters, and they're like trying to do this one shot behind the scenes, and all this wacky stuff's happening, and the guy's got diarrhea and they gotta fucking do his makeup while he's shitting. It's so goofy, but it's a comedy. This is a comedy with horror film elements. Like fake blood. It's a comedy with fake blood.
It definitely, if you have no idea what's happening, you watch the first 30 minutes and you're kind of frustrated because you're like, this is one of the most low budget, low effort, just dumb movies. Like, why am I even watching this? And then the middle part kind of explains it and breaks it down, and you feel a little like, okay, I'm a little more relieved. I understand now. And then that like third act where it puts it all together and shows you what you just watched in the first 30 minutes. This is a magic act where like your whole
it's like
time
a
you're like what's
Russian
going on?
nesting doll like type of
and then you get the reveal and you're like, oh fuck, this is a masterpiece.
It feels
in that realm.
Yeah, because it feels so improvisational and like bad and made by amateurs, but then that's all completely intentional. You know what I mean? And it's just like, oh, that's awesome. You guys should definitely watch it. It's really good.
It's a great. Yeah, it really is like don't be afraid of it and watch it, and then go watch The Infinite 2 Minutes because that's a really good.
I will say right now, from an outsider's perspective, you two talking about it, it makes absolutely no sense what you guys are talking about.
That's good.
No, I understand what the film is, and I definitely would say, like, if you don't get it, just watch it. Watch it blind as blind as you can.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's what I was trying to tell you earlier. I'm like, going in blind is great for this movie, but also knowing that the whole movie isn't like how it starts. To know to stick with it, because it is. The first time I saw it too, I was like, why is this so highly regarded? This is like everyone's gushing about this movie, because I watched it right when it came out on Shudder a couple years ago, and I was like, how is everyone loving this? This is not good. Like, what am I missing? And then it like, it's great.
Could you imagine the people that like turned this off like 20 minutes in, just thinking it was just gonna be like anything?
Yeah, I guarantee
100%. Yo, you really could have, because they sell it so well that you're like, God, this is really poorly made. And so and
there's no preamble. So
yeah, really though.
Yeah. Anyway, the next movie is amazing, but we're gonna breeze past it slightly.
Right.
Wait, I think Jordan said when we did the actual podcast, so Possessor is the next movie. You actually watched this, Victoria?
I did, yeah.
Because this is like probably the most violent movie of the month.
Is it? I don't know. I thought there were definitely violent parts. Obviously, that part where he puts like the poker in the guy's face, that was.
I guess it's because it's the realistic violence, like the stab in the neck and all the brutal stabbing, the cutting of the fucking meat cleaving the dude's fingers off. So good.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch. Yeah, no, I think that's like sometimes it's easier for me because I can like look away for like a brief moment. And it's easy to watch in that way.
This movie definitely is like the short bursts of hyper realistic violence.
Yes.
That stay with
you.
you.
I know they're coming, so I can just be like, oh, I look away, but I don't miss anything.
Yeah. That's fair.
Did you watch it, Pablo?
I sure did. This is probably my favorite movie of the month. I think
it's up there.
So far of the ones that we talked about, yes.
Yeah, I really liked it, and I liked it. This is my second time watching it. I liked it more. So.
Yep. All right, go listen to our podcast.
Go listen to the whole podcast on that one because it is fucking dope.
Oh no, if you have something to say,
I have the only dissenting opinion. I didn't love this film. I thought it was okay. Like I liked that pod thing. Like I liked how I liked her character, and I liked this kind of dissociativeness between the two. But I thought it was gonna be scarier, and it wasn't all that scary. So I kind of felt like a little let down. And
definitely not all the way horror.
Yeah, it's definitely more sci-fi thriller, but it's like because it's so extreme into like the violence and the themes is horror, but
I love
definitely
that,
more of a sci-fi movie.
I'm correcting you, V. You want more weird body horror.
Yeah.
You're like,
I was like it's like look at the movie poster. Like it's like he's wearing her face or whatever. That was the best part of it, and then they don't do that very often, and it was just kind of like in this like dream sequency feel between like what's going on. So
yeah, there's a lot of like all the like quote unquote horror stuff you probably missed because it is like a lot of like, oh, she's like, it cuts to like this like the close up of her like shooting the chick in the shower and like all this, and it's not even horror. It's just the idea of like what makes a possession movie scary in a sci-fi setting. So but because of that, it loses some of the horror. Unless you're not scared of like demons or anything, like I'm not. Like I think that this is scarier than something like The Exorcist to me, just personally.
More grounded in a
Yeah, because it's the sci-fi element, but mostly it's just cool. You know what I mean? It's just cool, and it's bleak. It's fucking bleak.
She's like, please help me get out of my life by killing my family.
Yeah.
I know, and it's so bleak too when it comes around. It's just like yikes. Anyway, so the next movie we could talk about both of the. Well, you want to just take one at a time, or we can kind of go back and forth. But we're talking about.
I think we can't talk. I can't talk about one without the other because that's the whole. That was our structure of this for the month, was to do original remake. And these are two movies I've never seen before and didn't even really have on my radar. And I'm very happy that I've saw both. And,
so we're talking Maniac, and I have seen both of these. I didn't really remember the original Maniac. I remember kind of liking it, and then I saw the remake first, and then I was like, oh, I liked that. I should go back and watch the other one because I know it's iconic, and then so I watched the old one after the remake. And so now I'm glad watching them both back to back like that. That was fun to kind of see because these movies are really different in a lot of ways, but like they try to keep some of the same. I don't know. What do you think? Did you watch them both, right?
I watched them both, yeah. So this is I didn't watch it all the way through just because after Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, I just could not take any more of like this pathetic serial killer that just takes charge of like the powerless, and it just felt gross to me after a while. And I get that that's the point.
Yeah.
But oh my god, I could not take much more of that film.
I don't know what subconsciously I was thinking because we did end up getting a lot of movies like that this month, like a lot of killers. That's why with the voting, I tried to cut all that shit out. We had a lot of killers and a lot of vampires this month. Were like the two main things. Like not very many zombies, no, like hardly any ghosts, very little like monster movies, but we tried. Damn it. This is year 4. I don't know. The first one, I really liked the first Maniac for the vibe, the Tom Savini, obviously. I like
actually in it too. He was a person.
I know. Yeah, he's great, and he gets his fucking head blown up, which is awesome.
Yeah. Right, which is his dream. So
that's
probably how
he's waiting for it. Yeah,
in his will, it's probably like that when he's on his deathbed.
It is. He's gonna walk out, and there's just gonna be a disembodied shotgun, and he's gonna close his eyes and be like, "I always knew it would end this way," you know? Like,
yeah. But I think that this Maniac did what Henry. I don't know. It's like I loved him, like his frank interpretation. The main actor, I don't remember his name, but he was like real. He was gross, and he was grimy and sweaty like 100% of the time, and he just like
you can 100% see that guy in real life, taking some women's scalps off,
right?
Know?
And to be kind of like hyperly judgmental. He looked creepy, but I think his character did a really good job at trying to assimilate too. Like when he's got the suit and he's like talking to her, and you can just see like this guy like doesn't know how to eat soup. Like he's just fucking looks terrifying, and he's like creeping me out.
See,
him standing next to that woman, I'm like, this is
get away. He's not.
Possible.
He's a maniac.
She's like not even like the fact that she even glanced at him is not even how it would work in society. No,
that's true.
But really, he sold it so much better than Elijah. But
I think that's the thing about these two movies because it's like Elijah Wood is barely in the other one because it's all like from his perspective. So if it would have been the writing and the filmmaking from the remake, but I like Joe Spinell or whatever his name is. I think it's something like that. Yeah. The guy from the first one. His presence and his like his face, too. Like he's really got an interesting face that is like sort of unsettling, and he really sells it. And like pathetic is a really good way to put it. But him being like this domineering, pathetic guy, I just really liked the internal aspect. Like it was a bit too much by the end of it, of the first person of the Maniac remake, and I love Elijah Wood, but I feel like his presence is not as good as a killer, even though I like his motives more. And the whole like whining, sniveling, delusional, being inside the head of this fucking deeply, like it was the first one was like, reminded me of like a fucking just a brutal serial killer. But the second one was like Richard Chase or someone that just is like so like he thinks he's turning into a mannequin. There's like all the shits where his hands are mannequin bits and he's got no junk and shit, which is like adds to this level of impotence, which is like also adds to these like brutal fucking violent stabbings that he does.
See, I don't know why.
I think it just works. It's way more effective, and the score is so fucking good in the second one, or in the remake.
I agree, and I feel like I don't know why, but for me, Elijah Wood's version does work for me a whole lot more of him just being like also pathetic. He has to sneak around because he's like weak until the end, where he somehow manages the strength of 10 men to like uppercut this woman through a glass table and smash a dude through the door.
Just throw him through the door.
No, I refuse to believe Elijah Wood has that muscle capacity. But in the beginning, he has to sneak around. He has to be like very mischievous and like just like cut the tendon, the Achilles heel of that woman because there's no other way for him to do it. He has to. Whereas the other guy just like, yeah, man, you're a giant, oily man. He could easily overpower these women.
He can barely grip their throats because he's so slippery. But
it's like Greasy Strangler all over again.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Don't even start. Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
Disco cutie.
Stop. Don't even go there. Don't even start. I gotta disagree on. For me, I didn't really like Elijah Wood's like performance, and I think that I don't know, like I actually really like the first one a lot more than the second one. The second one was like okay for me, but like I didn't like that they did the first person point of view, but I did also think the reason they did that is because Elijah Wood isn't believable as this character. Like he's not a believable fucking serial killer who does this kind of shit necessarily.
He's really not in it that much either too, you know. It's like I feel like because he's a big star, I feel like they shot it this way so they can have him, but only have him on set like 20% of the time. You know what I mean?
Right. Like it just wasn't enough for me. But the other guy in the first one, I was like, yeah, like, and I kind of like you, kind of like, I don't know. There were times where I felt kind of like I empathized with him a bit as well, like just some parts of his life and things. I felt like he portrayed the inner world of what was going on for him better than what was going on. I don't know. With Elijah Wood, I was like, okay, it's fine. Like, I like the mannequin stuff that was going on for Elijah Wood. That was pretty cool, like you said. But for me, I was like, yeah, the first one, the first guy, I just like, it hit. I was like, yeah, this is like
I guess that's
and
why I liked it so much more.
Other than the ending.
Yeah.
Because Elijah Wood is so unassuming and so like, oh, this is just some random guy you'd maybe find on the street. Like, I feel like Elijah Wood is just some dude that you would like be your next door neighbor, where the other guy's like, oh, giant oily man that screams serial killer. Yeah, of course he's gonna like murder you in your sleep.
Elijah Wood's character made sense to exist in society, and I do appreciate that. You know, he clearly, the
dating app thing was very
and the dating app was my favorite aspect of the remake because it brought it into a digital world. It really like, I was like, because the whole time I was watching Maniac in the 80s, I'm like, okay, yeah, this makes 100% sense. There's literally no paper trail. There's no way in the world that he could ever, you know, the fact that he gets caught, period, it's like he's sloppy, and so he's able to afford to be sloppy, and so it's cool in the remake where when he starts to become sloppy and he's unraveling and like, you know, and I love like him washing his hands. That's a good touch. It's like those are great things to really show.
I think they're both
his mania. Like, but I don't know. It's just like, it's kind of frustrating because like, I feel like they just, I don't know. It doesn't seem like he could exist in that world, you know? So I just like, I didn't buy him as a killer, but yeah.
I think that's a problem with like typecasting. Like, I think if we didn't know Elijah Wood was America's fucking sweetheart, then it wouldn't be as big of a deal, but he is like this weird, squirrely guy.
You know who would have been better? Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, yeah, Shia LaBeouf would have been way believable. I would have thought somehow they just put cameras in his eyes.
Shia LaBeouf has definitely choked a woman before.
But I don't know.
He's actually done that.
Yeah.
I think the remake is better by every metric, just like getting in the head, except for the acting. Or like, nothing against Shia LaBeouf, but I do like I think a perfect version of this movie would be keep the killer's perspective, but not from his eyes. Just be with him as the main killer, because that's what I didn't like about the 80s one that I liked more about the remake. Is the 80s one, it took a like a slasher formula where it followed the victims and try and be suspenseful, and yet we're the main protagonist is Frank, who we're supposed to like at least follow, if not understand necessarily. But they break from him being the perspective, and so having just him be the main character all the time, but not necessarily through his eyes, but with like all the shit that it tries to do with the second one, the voyeurism vibe, I thought was way more effective. If they could have mushed them together in that way, because I like Elijah Wood, but I think I agree. I like the presence and the acting of the original guy. You know what I mean? But everything else, like as far as production and everything, I prefer the remake. But even though the POV stuff it was pretty cool sometimes, but I'm almost like they came out of it sometimes.
It was
like
overused.
Why? Yeah. It was like do it sometimes for a couple scenes. It's a cool gimmick, but it does wear thin by the end. Even though some of the end stuff is pretty cool, like him becoming friends with the photographer is way more believable, but then her ending up getting killed in the car accident and it just being like this whole nihilistic thing, and the whole like the guilt of the women and like he doesn't want to do these killings, but he's like the compulsion feels more natural in the remake. But I like the ending both ways. I like they all tear them apart, even though, just because it's like, what else are you gonna do? How else are you gonna fucking end it?
That scene was amazing. The terrifying.
I like it
scene
in
is
both
so
scenes
good.
when they're tearing them. In both, I thought it was a really good way to
But
end it.
Savini, baby.
I know, right?
The original is so good, but it's such a cool like metaphor or whatever, just
That he's like
symbolism to
haunted by his victims. You know what I mean? Can never escape it, even as he's dying.
And then at the end, it's like, oh, he's just a body now. He's no longer a thing. He's just gone.
Yeah, right. Anyway, both Maniacs. I think they're both pretty cool.
I want to say really fast that I had a good laugh about, we both did on the original ending, because it was like, here's like fucking like scalped fucking heads on these things, and the cops come in and they're like, well, and they just walk out.
I like it's just some guys too, like they're cops, they're supposed to be cops, but they're just like street clothes cops. They're just like, well, shucks.
And he's like, it looks like that, and they don't even go over to that guy. He's like, it looks like he's dead, or like I don't even know what they say. They're just like, well, and they leave.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Like okay, place closed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. I don't know. I liked him, and I really liked doing the remake thing because they were quite different from each other, but they had like the same spirit. So
when the fact Elijah
we should
Wood
do that again. We should do that again next year.
Like the horror that he does, I'm there for it 100%.
Yeah.
Like Maniac, the remake, where its flaws exist, I do enjoy where it like flourished. So yeah,
Agreed. Yeah, neither are perfect, but I like the remake thing. Maybe next year we'll find another 2 movies to remake back to back. So anyway,
cool.
Ganja Hess. It's the next.
Ready
movie.
for this next bit?
Yeah, let's get it.
Did you watch it, Pablo?
I watched most of it. It's a weird movie, and speaking of Afro-surrealism, this is definitely like proto-Afro-surrealism.
Proto for sure. Yeah, I definitely wish it would have got more, because reading about how I got so butchered in the fucking editing room to try and fit this blaxploitation is so frustrating.
This is one of those movies that like I want Criterion to like dig into and try to figure out what the original is. Like I want to know. This is one of those movies where we'll never get to see the true original idea of the creator, and like, it's just kind of this is one of those like archival films that got put together, and what we have is like the best.
It's so. I'm so glad we have what we have.
Good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Like it's
so
a
true
good,
labor of love
like,
after the fact.
This definitely feels like one of those movies where the making of would be just as, if not more, interesting than the actual movie.
Yeah, I would.
Oh,
that'd be
totally. Like the history of it. I want to like. I bet you Spike Lee has some like interviews or there's something. Sure, there's a lot out there because I don't know if you know Pablo and just everybody in podcast land. Yeah. It got remade by Spike Lee, and it's like The Sweet Blood of Jesus, and it's like he's definitely like on board for this movie clearly, and so I'm curious if he's got like inside scoop or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. This movie was not at all what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting because I went in pretty blind, obviously. Like, because you saw it as part of that documentary, right? Like horror noir or whatever.
It was.
Yeah,
They talk about it, but
this was my pick. I'd like to throw out there.
Yeah,
You're
because
welcome.
I was like wondering how it got on, because I know it came from you guys. Because
it was that film,
I'd seen
that horror noir.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because like, this was I didn't know what to expect, but I definitely didn't expect it to be like so poetic. Because I really was loving, like, it was basically a lot of like monologues, and like all the dialogue was very like written, but very like beautiful, like poems. Like just the part when he reads his suicide note is so good. It's so fucking good. Like so many, and like the whole thing too, where he's just like their whole aspect of how the vampirism comes about, where it's just like this ancient blood addiction, and he's just like, you know, I eat, but I don't know hunger. You know what I mean? And he's like talking about that filmmaker that says cut, and everyone got mad at him, and he does it anyway because it's like, fuck, I need to like fuck you and stand behind my roots and shit. It's a really good movie. It's a really good movie. It's kind of like rough around the edges, just production wise, but I think that's, and like pacing and stuff wise. That's a product of its.
That's the charm, though, for me
I
personally.
like it. I like it, but
the whole time I felt like this was such a like passion project, but like from like someone young, and just like kind of you get those people who are like, they're fucking daring to just shoot something, and like, you know, kind of, this is a movie where in the editing room, I mean, and that's what's so hard to like talk about it, but it's like I even think like what we have filmed, it's like in the editing room, they knew what they were doing, because it's like, you know, back in the day, you had to film on like, you typically would do like, you know, audio again. And so like sound effects that we got were like intentional, and like dialogue we got was like, you know, really intentional, obviously in this. And like, but it creates, it's so cool for how abstract it is. I wasn't confused. And so like, I mean, there are some scenes where I'm like, okay, this was kind of edited weird. And so I wonder, cause like, there's a scene when they're at the funeral, and like that woman in the big traditional dress, you know, and like the woman that like walks into the field, that like large woman that has all those like frills, she's like there in the background for a minute. And I'm like, that was unexplained. So I wonder if it was like there's supposed to be more, or if it's like there was
definitely
supposed to
like
be
surreal
symbolism
and psychedelic
involved
in a way as well.
Right.
Yeah,
it definitely
felt like
feels like a product of its time.
Mine was definitely like a lot of the framing from like the remaster. I could tell it was salvaged, because it'd be like the frame was super fucking wonky, and I could tell it was like not intentionally that way, and like the edit, and obviously, but it's like all the fucking gospel music and just the way they did vampirism is like more of this like, you know, tragic thing, and then the love story. And I fucking hated Ganja to start, and then it's like, but then you kind of really start to understand her character.
Yes, dude.
Even though she's such a piece of shit, to like, and just like out for herself, which she is.
Victoria and I, our favorite part is her monologue.
Her monologue is
she's
so
just
good.
Like, she's just like, I just, you know, she's like, I do it for myself. Like,
I became the disease. My mom, like, if she's gonna think I'm a disease, then she's gonna have me. She's gonna fucking feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
dude.
Good.
Oh my god, I'm getting chills. It's so good.
Yeah.
And like, but dude, one of my favorite scene that is not subtle at all, but like, it's indicative of that, like, that young filmmaker style, is when he opens the cherry and there's the seed, and Ganja like fingers it and like has the cherry on everything. And I'm like, oh man, it's like, it's so blatant, but like it works so well. Like it's almost like the symbolism slapping you in the face. But it feels so intimate. It's good, dude. I love it. That was like that part. I
like it when he's swishing his mouth with his own bathtub while they're brushing his teeth in the bathtub.
I like his big flopping dick all over the place. Yeah. Which, speaking of flopping dick, this is like the second big flopping black dick that we've been seeing this month.
That's true. Yeah, the next one we'll be talking about here soon.
Yeah, but that scene. So this movie, we watched a lot of movies in this month that weren't horror, like capital H horror. They definitely are like a lot more brooding, a lot more psychological, and this one was definitely fitting that. Like clearly, there's like no horror in this, except at the end when that dude comes out of the pool. He's like swimming in the pool, and he gets out in the slow motion. Yeah. He's just running. That like creeped me out. Like there was like a sense of like urgency to it that like kind of gave me dread. Like it was, I loved that. And like it's just like a good way to like end too. Like
I mean, if a large naked black man were to running at me, I would also feel like dread. Oh,
That was dead too, an undead guy. Like
you know what else does
That's
that
the
well?
thing,
Get
yeah.
Out.
Get Out does do that well. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Speaking of,
I think I'd be more scared of them. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know why people scared, but I'd be like, do you need clothes?
I know. Yeah. No, yeah.
Does
Anyone
anyone need
naked,
clothes?
anyone naked running with
No,
that much like
it's
intent
it's the intensity
Should
to
I
it
be
that
running?
it,
Is
that it
really
is.
what
yeah,
should be
that's right. Yeah, like
It's the intensity. I would not get involved. You know what I mean? Like, the intensity, especially because there's a corpse on the lawn also that he jumps over.
oh, right. That's kind of That's like
I feel
the
bad
whole-
for the poor butler man.
I know. Yeah,
He's
that's cool because it's like this movie. I love that like vampirism culture exists way before this movie, and like what this movie like how it blends a culture with like the like whatever the rules of vampirism, where it's like he's a vampire and he's wealthy and he has a lot of connections and he has like a familiar or his butler, and like I love that still exists in it. So it's like I feel like this movie, it's like this is kind of like not like street trash in the sense that I think no one should watch it. I think everyone should watch this, but I would understand if you had a hard time watching it.
Oh yeah, for
Like,
sure.
It's
I thought-
rough,
I
but
thought it was interesting that like there, it's a blaxploitation film, but the stereotypes are there, but they're not as there as they could be for a black exploitation film. So you're like, you've got like characters that are, like more affluent, but then you have like, you have all these pieces that are like, like gospel music, and then like I'm using quotes, African tribe, like you don't even know where they're from,
Right,
like
right.
what country, what is the actual, it's just a trope of what happens. But then you have like this, some symbolism around like, the addiction of blood, or versus, or like, when the guy ends up like trying to kill himself, right? He chooses to hang himself from like a tree, right? Like there's just so many interesting pieces that are
and Catholicism, its
Yeah.
existence in just black culture itself,
Well, it's
on
not
top of
It-
or not
it
or
definitely-
Christianity, sure,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Christianity, like how that exists, and just even within vampires too. So it's like using vampires as the backdrop is.
I guess
awesome.
I would like to know. There's a lot more I would love to
Yeah.
like know more about like the intent and like what what the creators were thinking around using these pieces that are like very part of like the like part of like cultural pieces, but also used as stereotypes.
Yeah, well, like unlike most blaxploitation, I'm not like a fucking expert or anything, where it's like they're literally taking it and trying to like just use it and like send it out. This definitely does feel like of the culture in a way that a lot of other blaxploitation movies don't.
It felt a lot like
This is black created too.
Yeah.
That's like the strongest thing about it is it's like this isn't a lot of blaxploitation films are black people in power, but it's all white people controlling the back end and doing all the like the promotion and shooting it, and the director's white, and so a lot of that happens.
Yeah, I think that's
So
like
I
a
feel
major
that's,
distinction, especially because it's like
No.
the director is the guy from the beginning that kills himself, right? He's the writer and the director, and it's like it definitely is obvious that it's just like with all his like monologues type and all the dialogue and the characters he's created, it's like
there wasn't like a production studio watching him being like, oh,
well,
you
that's
should
where
change
they
this narrative.
cut out.
Like,
They cut it down to like fucking 80 minutes, and they literally renamed it shit like Black Vampires. That's blaxploitation.
It was
like, that's
Dead
them.
Couple or something, or Blood Couple.
There was a couple. It's known as a couple
yeah,
names. They released
yeah,
it
I
as
saw-
fucking Black Vampires, man. Which is
I know, right? That's
insane.
where I'm like,
It's-
that's black exploitation. Like,
well, because that is on the back end, like you
Well,
said.
that's
so.
where it feels like back to what Victoria was saying, and going back to Tales from the Hood, where if you see those stereotypes, you feel those stereotypes, but it's also of the culture. It feels more than just the stereotypes, whereas like other blaxploitation films are just like, we're just gonna handpick this and then sell it back.
Well, that's the cornerstone of like the Afro surrealism, like we're saying, where it's like the black experience, in the real life, taken and amped and put through the lens of like this surreal horror fiction to try and really explain like the real horrors of like their culture and their history. You know what I mean? Which is really good.
Yeah, it's such an interesting like film subject and
Anyway,
film area.
this movie's free on fucking YouTube, so go watch it.
yeah,
I was on
This
YouTube?
definitely is like, this,
Yeah, that's
this
how
is
I
like
watch it. I put a
close
link
to
in the
my
Reddit
favorite. I don't know.
Go to the
It's
Reddit
up
every
there.
once in a while.
I rented it.
Oh, you read it?
I don't know who I
I
gave the money to.
I could not find a
It's
way
on-
to rent it.
oh, weird. I didn't know there was a way to rent it. I found it on Canopy and then, YouTube.
Yeah, I tried to do Canopy, but for some reason, even though I have a totally valid fucking library card that I use all the time, it didn't work for some reason on Canopy. So.
I rented it on Amazon, so I have no idea where
Dude,
that
I
money
couldn't
to.
find it on Amazon. It
I-
literally...
Yeah, how could
Nope.
you find it on Amazon?
Anyway, yeah.
All right.
Listen,
I just want to know where the money went. Who did the money go to?
to
to
Jeff Bezos. Went right into his bank account. All of it.
But you know he's getting money.
Yeah.
He's
Anyway.
just like...
He's got the adrenochrome. Don't worry. He's,
Oh, yeah.
he's staying young.
So the next movie actually might be the most forgettable movie of the month for me.
What, dude?
Last Shift?
Rip, man. Why am I the only one that likes this movie?
It was boring, bro. I mean,
I don't know why.
here's
I think it's awesome.
So Last
which is so
Shift-
rare for me because it's like so cop, like so pro cop.
I'm
But the
surprised.
cop dies at the end, so I'm, that's dope. But it like, dude, I think what I like about this is I saw this movie with no expectations except like the poster is brutal and it's cool, and it like I just was super surprised. Like I think the isolation is creepy and the phone calls are creepy, but then like
phone calls are really.
well, the phone calls rock, and then I loved like the guy, like the interrogate or the holding room, the holding cell scenes. Like it's super independent. This is like this isn't like high budget, but it's like I thought they did a really good job with the limitations. I think it was creepy.
Let me clarify. You don't have to defend it because here's the thing.
Well,
I think that all the horror elements are done extremely fucking well. Each scene that has it is really spooky. The lead up spooky. The phone calls, like everything is so good. But like the complete package when put together, it feels disjointed by like an hour in. This character is like still just creeping around this place. There's like
I agree.
There's like other than the scares getting scarier and like more intense, there's no forward momentum to like what's actually happening. I mean, other than she's like, wait, are you coming? The time is moving along. Like, what's going on? And then like the twist at the end where it's like she's like gets in the shootout with all these fucking ghost cultists or whatever, and it turns out that it's the bio guys coming to get the shit. Like it all works and it's fine. And the fact, I didn't know this until after I watched it, but the fact that the filmmaker remade this,
I know, right?
He did it himself, is telling to like that there's nuggets here of the good horror, but like the actual execution of the overall arcing story leaves a lot to be desired for me.
I heard Malum was like trash garbage, and so I'm kind of sad. I'm like,
I heard it looked, but that's the thing. It's like I heard it was way like this, but cranked up to 11.
The trailer looks sick. Like it looks high budget. Like you can tell this movie is, I think this is like an IFC, right? Or one of those.
No,
it's got to be like
it's Magnet, baby.
Or is it? It is Magnet. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was about to say Magnet, but this is like definitely that like low budget.
Oh yeah, no, and so I respect
idea.
it for all that. You know what I mean? I think part of it was I wasn't just in the mood. It just felt like a very loose idea to connect a bunch of good scary scenes, but the glue holding them together wasn't very good. And it's like, an hour in, not only she's creeping around, but she's also like, hey, I think there's some weird stuff going on here. Isn't there? Isn't there?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
She is. It's funny because she's the main character, but she's the weakest part. So
yeah, oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Bummer.
It's like she exists as a narrative to have all these scary scenes, but the through line is just no good. But I would be interested. I would like to check out Malum or whatever it is to see. Did you watch this one?
Negative.
Oh, you didn't watch it?
No.
You did though, Victoria.
And
No, I didn't. I've seen the first hour of it, but I actually when we first watched it like a year or two ago, and when he got scared, she got scared at a scene, and I was like, well, I don't need to watch this anymore because I've never seen him jump at this thing.
Yeah,
the scary scenes are pretty good though. That's the thing. It's like
it's the scary scene that scared
the bag
me.
on the head when it's like
is it? Yeah, that's awesome. No, it's beautiful. No, the scary scene that scared me, I thought it did such a good job at building the tension, but then it didn't give the scare. Is when she's like at the desk and it's like, I don't know, like an hour into it, and it's like you hear the creepy girl, crackling around, and so like the camera kept moving around, and I was like waiting. I was like kind of waiting for like the jump scare, and that's the part that like I was like, oh man, they built the tension, and then they didn't do the jump scare, and then later they kind of did, but when she comes out, I was like, oh man, I was like, wow, she's creepy, and I knew Victoria could not. She's like the Exorcist girl, kind of creepy like that. So,
well, I liked that it's like, the reveal. She
amazing.
Sees like they're talking about how they killed him like a pig, and then it says "sow" on the ceiling.
Sow. Yeah.
I think that's really cool, and I just wish they would have done more with it. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of.
I'm nervous. When Malum looks like they're trying to make it larger, and like I don't know. There's something about this movie that I find so charming that they kept it contained. It's a 24-hour movie, takes place in one location.
Yeah.
That part I respect so much, and I kind of like that. Like at the end, it becomes like kind of supernatural, where she like tries to shoot the glass, but like the building keeps her in there.
Yeah,
so it is.
I like that.
Kind of cool.
I like that too.
I mean, but it does have its like there are. I mean, I think the limitations I look past because it's a Magnet film. It is low budget. It's doing, and so
I give it the benefit of the doubt. I was just kind of bored because it was like
and
I had no reason to care about the scares, even though the scares were effective.
I didn't care about her, and I really was like kind of was just like, oh, it's like this occult thing. I don't know. Yeah, right. I didn't really care about.
No, you're right with
story,
Magnum though.
but...
Like Magnum is like they make really good. A lot of their B low budget digital age B movies that are like cool ideas that don't really have the money to like flourish anywhere. Like Splinter, Signal is a fucking Magnum movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like I do respect it for what they did, and the fact that he went back and remade it shows that there's a nugget there. I'd be interested to see. So.
I will watch it. That's for sure. And it like literally came out like this year or last year. So anyways,
I saw the poster like not even that long ago for the first time. Yeah. The poster is really cool. So
I know, right? And the trailer looks great. So anyways, I'll watch it. Go watch it. Watch this. But we'll watch or everyone saw the next one, right? I assume.
Oh yeah.
Pablo, right? Dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
X.
It was my first watch.
For people listening, I'm trying to say each movie. X is what we're talking about now.
Oh yeah,
it's like a stream of consciousness.
We have not said every movie.
I've tried to, but I had to cut you off every time.
Cut this off, bud. X and Pearl were like my two anticipated films this month, and they totally held up. I liked them a lot.
Same.
I'm glad because I'd seen X, and I did really enjoy it last year when I watched it, but I've been putting off watching Pearl because I wanted to do it for the podcast, and Jordan hadn't seen X, so we were waiting till Horrortober to do them both. So these were like the first two movies to make it on the list. We're like X and Pearl. We got to watch them. I've been wanting to watch Pearl and then rewatch X. And X was kind of better a second time for me. I don't know. Like it I was like, first time I watched it, I liked it, but it wasn't really kind of what I wanted it to be.
Right.
But
that's exactly what happened to me too.
Yeah. But like watching it this time around, I knew exactly what it was, and I was able to kind of appreciate it a little bit more for that. And Pearl in X is such a compelling slasher villain, is just this fucking sex-crazed, violent old woman that is made even more compelling by the prequel. So,
are we going to talk about both of them back to back? Like, do you think?
I mean, we could talk about it. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about them kind of back to back.
I mean, why not? Because it's like I think that watching X and Pearl is like the accurate way to do it, in my opinion. Like, I love to like to be kind of, I don't know, not necessarily confused. It's almost like this. In X, her character, I wanted like more motivation and backstory about Pearl, about the old woman, the murderer. But then like I knew Pearl was going to give us some of that. But then what Pearl delivered is like nothing. It's basically just like a year in her life when she was young. And that's it. It's like gives you no backstory. I mean, kind of nuggets, and obviously there's subtext, but like
that's what I said
doesn't really answer much. And like, yeah, like I'm like, what?
It's like I love
wanted
it
more, but
I want
it's so good.
How Pearl and her husband Howard, like how he becomes so complicit, and he just shows up at the end, which is one of the greatest parts of Pearl, where the dead family members are on the table, and she's like, I'm so glad you're home, and the fucking creepy smile.
The smile completely during the entire shot, not blinking once. That was like the best part.
But I'm like, I want to see
her monologue.
What the fucking next 50 years look like for these two characters, man. Like they should do, because obviously the third one they're doing is Maxine, which is following Maxine from X after the events of X. And so, but I'm like, they should do like a comic, like a limited run comic that's just like Pearl in like the 40s and 50s or something.
Yeah, heard. Yeah.
Did they confirm that Maxine is going to be an After X film? Because I was like, I would like it to be more, because like that Maxine is like
The runaway.
The runaway from like from
The cult.
a church, right?
Yeah.
So you're like,
I think
would
it
like
probably, I imagine it'd probably do both, like kind of go back into her
Kind of like-
backstory and do more of her character. But yeah, they said that it's going to take place with her becoming like a porn superstar.
That was done so well
okay.
too. That was done
Right.
so subtly that I didn't even catch it at first. I was like, oh, like it's pretty blatant once you catch it, but it's just like so fast that if you miss it, you have no idea about her cults.
Oh
kind of
yeah, like
status.
with on the TV, like
Yes.
that they're watching. Yeah,
Well,
that definitely.
and that part it
stood
kind
out
of
more,
confused
I
me. That gave me so many more questions about Pearl because they were watching that TV program like it's like the news, and like they're like watching it, but like it's not like they interact with it though. It's weird. It's like just like the TV's on and then it's kind of like giving us narrative, but like there's so many questions I have about Howard and Pearl like in X, and so it's like the fact that it doesn't get answered, it kind of I love it. I love that more. That like I don't know, gives me more like
The very
hope for Maxine.
Yeah, the Technicolor, like I like that it's just like it's there, but it's not there to like build this super connected Marvel style universe.
That was like the craziest part for me. It was like going from X to Pearl. I'm just like, oh, these are two completely
very different.
different
They're very
styled
different.
movies. And I forgot, I believe it was an X, right, of like the barn scene. Where it kind of like blocks it off, so it looks more like 4:3, and then it zooms in.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh, is this gonna be is this movie in 4:3? What?"
They both start with the same shot too, coming out of the barn
Yeah.
at the house. It's so good.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
masterfully done.
Yeah, it's like Ty West is. I've have a love hate with Ty West, and so I'm glad these movies really worked out. Mary watched Pearl with me. She fucking hated it though.
Oh, really?
Well,
I liked Pearl,
yeah.
actually. I didn't really like X. I mean, X was fine. It was fine.
Yeah.
It was one of those, like, I watched it. I'm glad I watched it. I didn't love a lot about it, but I am, honestly, I'm a sucker for backstory stuff in general. So, like, watching Pearl was...
Yeah, less
I
of a
just like-
slasher, more of like a character study is always kind of more interesting to me.
Like, you get nothing from X,
yeah.
about the killers, and I like the backstories of things like that. So Pearl was like nice because you got that, and I also just stylistically liked.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. The
how they
like
did.
Technicolor fucking Wizard of Oz fucking vibe
Well,
is so good.
Mia Goth,
I love that.
she really is this freaking slasher like scream queen, little darling that has blown me away because I did not like her character at all in Infinity Pool, and not even like I didn't like her performance. I didn't like anything about her, and so I was kind of like hesitant to see these movies. But I was like, oh shit, I get it. Like she fucking rocks, and like this is cool, and it makes me want to go back and watch Infinity Pool to see if I kind of like missed it. But it's like these two movies, I was like, holy shit, she's a really good actress, and I just in Infinity Pool, I just didn't feel like. I don't know. I don't know if they just like didn't give her enough direction or what. But
I need to watch it still. I really want to see Infinity Pool. I really liked her, and like I said, High Life with Robert Pattinson. We gotta watch that.
She did
I know I need to do that.
such a good job because of how hateable Pearl is. I freaking despise Pearl.
Oh yeah.
And her
I
motivations,
like
everything
sympathy,
about her,
yeah.
especially like in modern day, that narcissism, like I'm special, you guys just don't understand. Let me try again.
Right.
I should just be given all this
That-
because how special I am.
And the fact that like it does really play to her character, her narcissism too. The fact that she is so afraid of her like mediocrity that she resorts to violence so much that it's just like she tries barely to be special. She does the one thing the one time, and instead of being like, nope. I got my gumption. I'm gonna do it again. Like I'm gonna run away and I'm gonna run away to Hollywood or something. She's just like, oh no, I can't. You know what I mean? And she just becomes like so complacent with it, and like because I feel like deep down she wants to like relish in her hatred more. I don't know. She's an interesting character.
A very male centered trait that you don't really see in a lot of
No,
women,
yeah, you really don't.
villains.
And I'm really happy because you know how many pitchfork kills we got this month? Quite a few across 3 different movies. Like
That is true. I mean, in
So
this,
many.
I think
More
I was like,
pitchfork kills.
I was hooked on when she dances with the scarecrow. That part.
Oh yeah,
That
I
part
mean,
fucking-
when she's fucking it, I'm like, yeah.
No, I literally, when we started this movie, I was like, I don't really know anything about it, but I'm pretty sure she rapes that scarecrow.
Dude, that scarecrow had the creepiest face too. And then she's just like, I'm married.
Yeah.
I can't be doing this. And then
Then she
she's
brings
like,
the
all right,
top
we'll do
hat
it. I'm
to
doing
her.
it.
Yeah.
I'm like, girl, you don't need that top hat. It looks terrible on you.
I know. No, I loved her at the top. Hat.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
She's like, I'm gonna go audition with this fucking top hat.
I
You look
know.
like an idiot.
Yeah.
I know. See, like she straight up murders Howard's sister. She chops Howard's
I
sister
was
up and
so-
feeds her to crocodiles. It's like
I know.
was so hoping she wouldn't do that. Like
I
there was
know.
a part of me that was like, it would be so dope to find out that she just unveiled, like literally master plot everything that's going on with her,
Yeah.
and that the sister is so scared, or even has maybe like the tiniest sense of empathy, like between women to women, kind of thing. That
Right.
she doesn't say anything, and then she just gets to go with it.
or she has her own, or she's like her
I
own
wish.
so self-centered that she goes
Right.
off and becomes like a dance
Right.
star and
Well,
is just like,
and just-
small town Pearl. We don't give a fuck about that bitch.
So of the time too to just be like, well, that sounds tough, and then leave.
Yeah.
Oh, that felt so tough. It felt like I was just like in her head going like
That
through
monologue.
all the options of like what could you possibly say to get out
Oh.
of this situation.
All one shot, the monologue, when it finally cuts back to her, I'm like, oh yeah, what do you say to that? I gotta get going. I better get out of here. It's like,
Yeah. She
yeah, it's really
definitely.
Anyway,
She's
those-
definitely unloaded.
those are fun. I don't know.
I love a good climax too. That's just all monologue. It's just like
Yeah, I'm a fan of
great.
that. The next movie we can breeze past a little bit, The Fog.
Did you guys watch it?
Yes.
Or
No, I won't.
I know you watched it, but
Do you have any strong opinions about it? Or hot takes?
Boring.
Yeah. That's kind of, go listen to our hour-long episode about how we're like, man, this could have been really good, but it ended up being pretty boring.
I like Jamie Lee Curtis.
I like her, but not in this. She's as useful as a fucking dingleberry on the fucking main guy's ass.
Yeah,
she
but
has no
it's-
purpose in this movie.
But it's Jamie
Yeah.
Lee Curtis.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No.
That's,
no. I mean, and even then, it's like she literally just like said like 8 words. I don't. Yeah. Anyways.
I literally pointed at the camera and I said, oh, dude, it's Academy Award winner Jamie Lee Curtis.
I clapped.
Next.
Hell yeah. I'm glad she's going to have a really meaty role to dig her teeth into for this one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's just another one of those like fucking things where it's like you got like, I don't know, he's like 102 years old and she's like 20.
I
you know,
know.
like I don't know.
Always.
So,
Oh,
If this movie could have been The Fog, could have spent a little more time and been more like Salem's Lot. This is kind of where we landed. A little more flesh the town out, do more with the fucking ghost shit. Then
or be more fanciful and whimsical and ghost story esque.
yeah, lean into. I thought it was kind of like a kids movie. Either lean into the violence, get Tom Savini, or just make it a kids movie. You know
It
what I
was
mean?
more Stephen King esque, like the Mist,
Uh-huh.
which
Yeah.
one of those like times where it's like I get those two confused, even though they're completely different movies. But the Mist, if it was more ghost and supernatural.
they look like mist pirates, but really it's like they just dump it too. They're like, oh my god, this is the like he's like, here's the book. I found everything and this whole thing, and it's like literally like I don't even know, maybe in the middle of the movie, and you're like, oh,
That's what I was saying in our podcast, Victoria. I was like, I love it, but I hate it that everyone is immediately on board. They're just like, there's some supernatural fucking ghost shit going on, and everyone's like, oh fuck, get out of the fog, like.
But they're supposed to be like lepers, but they look like fucking mist pirates. So you're like, what the hell is
They,
this?
dude, I know they're supposed to be like mariners, but they're just straight up like, I guess they're just old shanty pirates. But they're supposed to be like
They're supposed to be
1880s, but they're like,
lepers,
no,
right?
like 1600 swashbucklers. And then the one shot you get of all the fucking worms on his face is fun, but it's more like about being in the ocean, not a leper. Like, I like the backstory. They didn't do anything with it, though.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
go listen to that
that was
episode.
our pod.
We covered it at length.
Yeah.
Um,
The next movie, Levi, what's it called?
It is called Murder Party. And
Fantastic. Did you watch it, Pops?
I did, and me and Levi were talking about it before the podcast, and I was just like, "Oh, do you know who the director is?" I'm all like, "I don't know, man. It kind of feels like the guy who did Green Room," and I was just like,
He just guessed
"Oh
it.
my gosh, really?"
he guessed
Are
it.
you
Yeah,
serious?
I
You
guessed
fucking
it.
guessed.
I guessed it.
Solnair,
It-
whatever.
I felt it in that climax scene. Oh my goodness.
That's that's beautiful. Okay, good, dude. Because I love this movie, and this was a movie I saw thousands of years ago. Totally random, like library checkout. You know, had no idea what I was getting into. Liked the poster or the cover, and then like I was just like, holy shit, this is like one of the greatest movies ever made, and I still love it.
I
And
feel
so
like I
have
watched
I have
it.
hard nostalgia classics.
Yeah.
So
I definitely watched it with you, I think, and Zach. Or I think
Right,
it's
because I showed
of you.
everybody. I was like, this.
Yeah,
this
I'm pretty
movie's
sure you
fucking
watched it,
dope.
and then you're like, dude, you got to check out Murder Party. And we watched it and thought it was a lot of fun because we were even gonna dress up as like the cardboard knight, you know.
I know, and I want to be the wolf with the melted face. It's
Yeah,
so cool.
so good.
Oh my god.
But now rewatching it all these years later, being a pretty big fan of Jeremy Saulnier, and like I've seen Blue Room, I fucking love Green Room. Go watch our episode on that. I even Hold the Dark is even actually decent, and all his shit he did at True Detective is good. But yeah, man, this movie, I don't know, it just feels like something that we would make.
It's
like
Exactly.
And that's what I
thought that
love
too.
about it. So
It's got that youth energy. Like, it's kind of dumb sometimes, and it's kind of meandering, young, pretentious artist vibes, but it's fucking funny sometimes, and it's like, then it's like brutally, like even the violence with the shocking Jeremy Saulnier's kind of trademark of like, he does the realistic, sudden violence, like how it is, and it's like in this, it's all there, but it's all kind of played for laughs too. It's like when the chick dies right at the beginning, it's like, oh shit, now it's real. But then they're just like, nah, throw her in the cooler. And then it's like, but she's like, whoa, that was weird. I feel dizzy. And she's like pouring blood. And then the photographer gets shot in the head, and he's like, wow, fucking douchebag.
Going back to Possessor, where you were talking about more like realistic violence. I'm like, no, this feels like realistic violence. And like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, the monotony of all of it, of just like when he gets shot in the head and he's like, takes the snapshot. I was like, really? Could you guys just let me finish this? And it's just like blood, pouring buckets of blood. He falls down, and you just see the shot of him just staring at shoes, and that's all he sees, like just stupid shoes.
Yeah, he's like, I hate
and he
fucking
just
shoes.
dies. I'm just like, oh my god, I am so much more unnerved from this than any other kill that I've seen in any of the other movies we've seen so far.
But at the same time, it's goofy, and he's just like, they all take the drugs, and they're like, I think we're all bi, and then he's getting fucked in the room too. You know what I mean? It's just, it's I don't know, it's fun. Like, and then the main guy, Chris or whatever, like, I don't know how developmentally disabled they like made him or something. He just has like no awareness of it. But his reactions were always the best. God, they slayed me every time when they said like, yeah, we should just chop his dick off, and it just cuts to him. He's just like, no. Or every time he just gives him a look, you know? I don't know. And then, I don't know. It was really funny. I also really loving Macon Blair, and he just plays his own self, Macon, in this, the werewolf that gets his face melted off. But it's like, he's the main character in Blue Room.
Yeah,
he's in
Blue
Green
Room.
Room.
And what did he write? Oh man, we talked about it in Green Room, but
go watch. I Don't feel at home in this world anymore.
That's what it is.
It's got Elijah Wood in it too. It's got big time Jeremy Saulnier vibes with more comedy like this. So couldn't recommend it more. I've seen it. First time I watched it, I really liked it. Second time I watched it, I loved it. But he directed that, and he's directing the remake of Toxic Avenger.
That's right. That's what it was.
Peter Dinklage in it as the Toxic Avenger, which is interesting.
Right.
So I don't know. I like these guys, and this movie it's got charm. It's the 24-hour movie too. He just goes back.
I love how vapid all the main characters or all the characters are. Everybody in it, and like it feels. It's funny because like it feels like a movie. It's kind of like a Quentin Tarantino film where like it feels exactly like a movie, but it's just like it's written well and it's shot. Dude, it's
surprisingly
one of the best
well
movies.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the best shot movies we watched this whole time, which like in like kind of an odd way. Like it's all like a lot of it's like one shot. Like it's blocked really well. Like everybody hits their marks perfectly. And that it like watching it on this like rewatch my like umpteenth time. I'm like oh, I can really appreciate that. But the part that bums me out every time is that it just feels like it kind of they're like, well, we got to end it. And I'm like, that is where I always make an argument every podcast. Movies need to have a different runtime. Like if this movie was 60 minutes, I think it'd be so much tighter. Like that, just like they do a lot of chase scene on the roof. That's like 5 minutes of chase scene.
It's kind of funny for a minute when it's like Macon is like chasing after them with the corded chainsaw.
It goes on. Right. You've got those bits, and I think those bits could stay, but I just feel like there's a little bit of pacing that's odd. But I mean,
no, I kind of agree. And they're just like, he's just like, fuck this scene and kills everyone.
But that's what,
yeah.
That's what kind of makes those films like his style of just like it feels so much more real because what you don't expect shit to just happen and just like real life, like when shit pops off, it's just like oh this is happening, what's going on, and then by the time your brain catches up, it's like a bunch of stuff just went down and I have no idea what to do.
Well, I like that Chris, the main guy or whatever, he's like kind of a secondary character because he spends half of it gagged, and he poops his pants at a wedding and all that, and but like. I like it's even a small amount of the bookend of the movie where it's like he's at the beginning, he can't even tell his cat to get out of his chair, and he's going to be alone, so he goes to this party, but then at the end he comes home, he's just soaked in blood, and he's just like, and he gets that little bit of a spine that's like, that's his character development. He gets a little bit of a spine through what he went through, and the cat gets out of his chair, and he's like, all right, that's right. I'm the man of the house, he's eating his candy corn covered in blood.
Sir Lancelot.
Yeah, it's pretty good. He comes out of the closet, tries to distract them with all the shit that he drops.
Dude, that's so good.
And it works.
That's the thing. Like this movie, I think the whole time, it's just got such a good vibe. Like it's funny, but like there's like you said,
it's a good Halloween. Like it's good fun.
The death. That's exactly This is like dope Halloween movie.
Well, even the fucking the bad guy, like it's super, like it's dark when he's like talking about he's gonna kill the dog because he's not cute anymore. Like it's so funny, but you're like, God damn! Like the way he says it is like so casual, you can't laugh, but it's just like brutal. That like the implications, like there's such this dark undercurrent to this movie that really works because it's hilarious. I kind of want to see because obviously there's some pretty good comedy in really pitch black comedy in like Green Room and stuff.
Green Room, yeah.
But I kind of want to see Jeremy Sumner. Oh, dude, it's full of them. That
It's got a lot of laughs. The others,
yeah. we're moving along, folks. Yeah, Murder Party is great. Go watch it. But the others, it turns out we were all ghosts.
Yep, that's it. That's all I have to say about that. Did you watch the others?
And so
I could not find that film at all.
A girl walks home alone at night.
I saw the others.
Have you ever seen the others? Did you?
I saw it when it came out in theaters. I saw it at 5-Star. And I went there, and as a 10-year-old kid when it came out, I thought it was pretty cool, pretty spooky. And then, but rewatching it, and then at the time, obviously, the twist that was like all the rage in the movies. I mean, Sixth Sense had just come out a couple years ago. But it still kind of got me. I was like, oh, cool. But then rewatching it now the gothic horror and like the ghostly vibes are really on point, but the fucking story and the main character does not work. It's like a haunted house where you know all the tricks. Like once you know the twist, it's a lot of movies work better when you know the twist, but when you know the twist on this one, I feel like I'm like the entire time I'm like, why? Like the lady's just like, oh, being all mysterious, the maid, like the help is all dead too. But then it's just like, I don't know, it's just all contrivances to like make the twist work. And so it's just like everything that happens is really, I don't know, it's really obvious, but then also just kind of like dumb. And it just doesn't work. There's no tension when you know now what's a ghost and they're the ghost. It's like, I don't know. It's like it doesn't feel clever either, like Fight Club or something.
I didn't. Yeah, exactly. I didn't like the inconsistencies of the ghost behavior.
And like, Nicole Kidman's character was so fucking annoying. Like I hated just how arrogant she was. Even in the back half when she's like, no shit's going on, and she's like, how dare you fucking insinuate that we're dead or whatever, Like, and I'm just like, bitch, give it up. Like, I know you're in denial because of like what your religion or whatever, but I don't know.
I felt like it worked with her character, like her backstory.
It did.
Like, it's what you expect. You don't have to like her though. Like,
no, that's fair. It works with like her denial. It does, but it's just like it's hard to like especially when you know what's happening and it's like you know that she killed her kids and stuff. Like sometimes it really works with that, but I don't know. It's just to me, I just found it annoying because I couldn't grab on to the plot or her strife, knowing what I know, and her acting the way she's acting. That I was only there for the gothic horror because the vibe of the movie is really good, and so
I don't think I've ever seen a movie though that doesn't have like it's like the protagonist is the antagonist because of like an inanimate object, like because of the house and how she's kind of trapped in it. It's kind of interesting. I don't, I
It's necessarily the house. It's just she doesn't accept that she's dead.
Well, right, exactly. Which is in turn the house is like such a big, like, opponent for her. Like her having to be like tethered to the house. It's cool because you find out she's a ghost, right? And tethered to her children, and that I think I'm just like to put a little argument on your rewatching. I think that so I've seen this movie, but I 100% forgot until the end when they're doing the seance, and I'm like, oh fuck yeah, I've seen this. I totally was like, oh, that's the twist, right? Because
well, that's the
right
most memorable part,
Well, and that's the whole thing. Like when when it first starts, I'm like, oh, everyone's dead. Like was kind of like that's literally just like everyone's dead. Kind of gives it away, and then I was like, oh, I've seen this before. But anyways, it is kind of like I can't think of a movie that there's definitely movies like The Shining and stuff where it's like a building is kind of evil and then you go crazy, slowly insane. But it's like she's both the protagonist and antagonist at the same time, and that's kind of rare.
Well,
I don't know.
I see what you're saying because it's got the house as the central point, but like Victoria's saying, it's like her character and like her grief and anger or whatever, like holding her there, but it has to be also the house because of the help. But then it's like not really about the house, like that's tethering them there, and it's just like the help is like, oh, okay, well we better uncover the gravestones now because let's pace this out because it's a movie.
No, don't worry. The helper like the dumbest. Like
there's a lot of like inconsistency for sure in the movie, and it is like it's like I remember watching it when I was younger, being like, whoa.
Yeah.
Same.
And I still really like the idea that like it's the living that are haunting the dead.
No, that's cool.
That's
cool. Yeah.
Like, I know that's not a new thing, but it wasn't expected,
Yeah, doing the seance and then them turning into ghosts, that's totally wholly original.
The best part, like you're saying, is like the kid Victor or whatever.
True. Yeah.
Victor's like the ghost to them. They're all scared of Victor, the kid.
Right.
And like that, all that stuff was the best, I think. Like, fuck Nicole Kidman's character and her weirdness. And, but like the kids being scared of the Victor kid and then Victor being the kid of the live family that's interacting with them. I think it's like, if they would have leaned into that even more, because the child actors weren't even that bad.
I kind of wish it was like Crimson Peak did a cool. This this like isn't as fanciful as that, but it's just like I don't know. It's like for it being haunting, it's almost like you didn't need to have the twist. You could have just made it like a Victorian, Nicole Kidman's character is just kind of being gaslit, and then you find out that like she does want to kill her kids or something. I don't know. You could have made this. That intent is pretty cool, and I do like Nicole Kidman's reaction to that when she's like, oh, but I love you and I'll love you forever. And it's like, well, you killed him though, bud. So.
See, that's like, it like, I don't know. There's a lot of other movies other than the gothic horror vibe that it did, but like Shutter Island does similar stuff. You know what I mean?
All right, but I know you only love Shutter Island.
What?
You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, all right.
I don't know.
I almost skipped straight to the, I almost skipped straight to the faculty. Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is the next one.
Oh. Yeah. Did you watch that, Pablo?
I did not watch this one or the last one.
Yeah, or
Evil
the others. Oh, the others.
Or the others, yeah. I personally love this movie, but I can understand if you don't like it. I will say right now, the things that I love about it is it's like, I don't know Iranian culture, clearly, not very well, and the fact that it feels like so early 1960s, like late 1950s, like Hollywood in its like noir kind of like it's fucking like it's your James Dean character that Rebel Without a Cause style, and like just like the mood that it conveys is beautiful, and I it's like it's totally up my like I am like the hipster kind of like, you know, I love like a hipster indie film, and that's exactly what this movie is.
That's exactly what this movie is.
And so it like for me it like hit all the right spots.
Well,
like I loved it.
I really wanted to like this one more, and I don't know if you saw my Reddit comment, but basically I just think I might have not been in the mood for this one, because I think I would like it more probably on a rewatch, and I think I want to rewatch it because it's like the cinematography and the fucking music was so good. Like the old fucking cool rock and roll blues music, like you're saying, and like all the songs in it, like they're bonding over music. And there's a lot of scenes where nothing happens because they're just listening to music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the pace of this movie and like the story, I just was like, I think I was just, this was when my burnout really hit me, I think. And so I was just like, nah, I just didn't care. And I didn't have I was on my phone, and like I couldn't focus on like everything that was happening, but I was loving, like I feel like there exists a music video for this. I feel like a 4-minute long
I can
music
see that,
video that has the best scenes of her skateboarding around with her fucking shawl flipping out and like drinking blood.
I know,
because it's
fucking
so
sick, dude.
cool.
I love
Him in
it.
his car, like it is.
Yeah.
I
mean, but this is like, I really love Drive.
style.
And so it's got like
It
that,
is, yeah.
like, it's just dripping with style.
Yeah,
and
I think I just wasn't in the mood for it, because I think I would have really liked it. But I just like, I could not handle, like, it felt like 4 hours to me. I was just like, when is this going to end?
I 100% see that. But I love how like, it's so fictitious. Like they live in bad city, and like
it is. It's like this neighborhood, and there's like bodies in the fucking canal, and
dude,
like,
that bodies in the ravine. I'm like so just like I want a deeper contextual like symbolism. I want to know more about it, and so I'm like it's
there's got to be
really
some
like,
cultural stuff too, right? That we're missing, I think.
Well, right. You would just assume it's like even if it's not like fully conscious, there's definitely some subconscious, you know. And it's weird because I couldn't tell exactly where it was shot. If it actually was like shot in Iran or like where it was shot, you know, it kind of looked like it could have been shot in LA also. But anyways,
yeah, that's weird.
But dude, you give it up for like a 3-minute scene where a dude dances with a balloon. That was fucking where that weird like street dude just dances with a balloon for 2 minutes. Perfect. I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm all in for this. This is my like.
It was
weird
a vibe,
style.
the black and white, like noir style,
beautiful.
50s,
It
and
was
like vampire with the fucking sweet ass like music. I was really into.
I mean, it's definitely, this is another movie that like doesn't need to have a horror twist to it at all.
But and it's like I like it because that's the thing.
I love it.
I kind of I didn't argue with Mary, but one of my biggest things of the month, she hate was a strong word for Pearl. She just didn't like it, but she thinks horror movies should be scary, and I'm like, I don't think they have to be scary like at all, and like to have horror elements, you know what I mean? And so obviously this movie's not scary in any way, and it only deals with like through the horror lens of having a vampire. You should have let my dog out when you went out there.
Sorry. Oh no. Speaking of scary. As soon as I heard those scratches at the door, that freaked me out for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, she needs to go potty, but we're almost done. So.
I know we're getting there. we're getting there.
Oh no, the last movie we're going to talk about for at least an hour. I don't care what you guys
The Faculty?
No,
okay.
Okay.
All right, unless you have anything else to say with Girl Walks Home Alone. I think it's cool. It's cool because I want to watch it again, and I probably will someday because I definitely think there's a lot there I didn't get out of it this watch, and I think that's my fault.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the next one. This movie was fucking fun. That's all.
It is.
Like,
it's
that's it.
Not good, and it's a fucking like they tried to make a good movie and they failed, but it's so
3 different movies in one.
It's so awkward to watch, but like it's fascinating, right? It's kind of the Faculty,
but it actually works really good. Like I don't know, man, because I think what I'm guessing is like the trailer for this was straight like straight like teen comedy style, like high school drama style movie, and like the alien-esque things was kind of just the back burner, where it's like, I don't know. I just expect they like, because the whole time I'm like, are they trying to hide the fact that it's like aliens, but then they just like are really blatant about it, and it's kind of obvious, and the opening scene was like really weird. Like, were they trying to make it a slasher movie at first? So like,
they're like kind of sometimes trying to be meta and be like, oh, we're aware in universe of body snatchers, but also like I don't like because
it is body snatchers. Like, yeah.
So this is written by the same guy who wrote Scream. And,
oh my god, I was literally about to say it's like a Scream ripoff.
But yeah, this wanted to be Scream so bad. This wanted to be like, oh, we're hip, we're meta, like we're like tongue in cheek, but we're gonna also reinvent the genre.
We have Offspring.
Yeah, there's the fucking Offspring and like all these like, but like the score is so serious sometimes, and then it's just like needle drops to like a '90s skate punk song to show how cool they are, and Josh Hartnett's in it again with his fucking stupid hair. Being just the coolest guy ever. And he's like, yeah, dude, you want to snort some pen? It's awesome. Like, I'm glad we watched it.
Zeke was the greatest character when he's like, they're cherry flavored. And like, I'm like, Zeke's getting raped by that woman, dude. It's all this like,
this movie.
Hey, this is his second year in high school. He's like 19. It's cool.
This movie is
that's right. That's true. Yeah.
Like early 2000s, late 90s. It's great. That's the one thing I was like going to the 2000s films. Like, this captures that feeling so well. Like, even like Scream kind of feels like a bit timeless. This one's like a time capsule of late 90s, 2000s.
98. Like,
I love it. It's so dumb and so funny though.
It is.
It's like such a trip to watch. And so like yeah, this is a bad movie, but it's one of those bad movies you like, I could totally watch this again and laugh. And
100%. Which is weird because I normally those movies kind of irritate me, but like something about this movie that's just like, it's just kind of bizarre. I don't know. It's just a kind of a bizarre movie, and like the CG's weird, and there's some scenes where it's just so serious, but then it's not, and then they're all just getting high, and then later they're like,
not high. They're not consistently high. That bothers me so
I
much.
know,
They're
yeah.
like, snort the pen, and make
I
sure.
know.
And then it's like they're not even high though. After like high for like a second.
the movie version of what high is too, where they're just giggling at every little thing and all this, and like just constantly that's everyone's reaction to it.
Well, dude, and I love.
And then later she's got her tentacle finger, and she's like, I didn't actually sniff it.
No, I want to know. I want to go back and see if they actually show her like doing.
No,
that.
I watched because I remember that, and she's just like, it kind of just cuts away. She's just like, and then it cuts to the other girl sniffing, and she's like, oh. So it just.
The fact they have like the girl at the end, like, she's like, why wouldn't you just keep her in her monster form? She was just in her monster form just because you wanted a fucking like naked teen looking person.
Yeah.
And she turns into she reveals her monster form just because, she's like, she's like, guess what? I'm the monster. To the one girl that they're alone together.
Right. It's.
And then she's like, nope, back to naked hot girl.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. I like how everyone turned back to normal after the end, even though they just like shot the teacher in the head and decapitated that other woman. But it's like, oh no, the brain slugs, like they're gone now, so it's cool.
They reattached them and then they went back to normal.
And no, not back to normal. Actually, everybody got along better. I love that. At the end, it was like, oh wow, everyone like is like cool now.
I know, the nerd got the cheerleader, and then Zeke became a jock because he just needed some way to let out his aggression. I don't know.
I don't know. And then he's like dating the teacher. This movie reminds me of this book I read, The Sleep, and that's really sick. And that's like, it's like, I wish this movie. I mean, I don't know. This movie was perfect, so it doesn't really, it doesn't need to be
perfectly bad. It's great.
Yeah, right. It doesn't need to be.
It's not good, but it's a fucking fun, man, which is weird.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't need to be like.
Look like you want to say
I'm like
trash in the best possible way.
Yeah. There's a book called Sleep, and it deals with like these like creatures coming in and aliens like kind of making everyone a hive mind. And like it does it in like a really cool way. And I remember I'm like, well, this movie could have done that. Like, this movie could have been like 3 different movies.
You know what movie I was thinking of the whole time? That did it not in high school but better is Slither.
Yeah. Slither, but Slither takes the kind of gross route.
Oh yeah, well that takes it and does all the ultra violence, and then at the end, like you can't survive it, so everyone's just dead.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like brain slugs and the fucking I don't know.
Yeah.
This cast was stacked, man. This was a stacked
Dude,
cast.
yeah. And it's like I love when it goes through and it
Like
shows
Jon
everyone
Stewart,
like that high
man.
school montage with their names over it with like the cool letters.
That was when I
was
knew, because I hadn't seen this since I was a kid. And as a kid, I was like, oh, that was fun and kind of cool. But watching it this time, I was like, as soon as the fucking freeze frame and it's like, Zeke, you know, and it's like Amanda or whatever the fuck her name is. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm in for it, buddy. I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah, like this is radical.
The edibles helped, too. So. You're over there looking like with your fucking lemon face, like you got something to say. You're like,
I don't, dude. This is just my. I'm gonna say what I keep telling everybody else. This is just my face. I
all
appreciate
right, so
you
Rosemary's Baby.
Judging.
Yeah.
Did
you watch Rosemary's Baby?
I'm abstaining saying anything about this movie.
That's fun
for obvious reasons.
That's fun. It's good dumb fun. That is good dumb fun by accident, which is like it feels so much better that way. Like you could tell they put a lot of money in it and they really wanted it to be good.
Yeah. They wanted to hit so bad.
It was a swing and a miss, and I kind of appreciate that because tonally it's just so strange. Where it's like movies that are just bad because they can be bad and they're so bad that like that's, you know, fun. That's I don't know. Those aren't as interesting to me. But so the best movie of the month you should watch still because you didn't watch it.
Like I said, I'm abstaining from saying anything about it for obvious reasons.
Okay, you should watch it though; it's really good. I'll give it to you. Just don't give it to Jeff. Don't give your money to Jeff Bezos for it.
Oh yeah, Pablo. Are you talking about Rosemary's Baby? Because you do.
Yeah.
Yes.
You pirate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a movie that you have full permission to steal. That's true. That's the rules behind it.
I know, because this is your first time watching it, Jordan, right? Like actually watching it, because I think you said before you tried to watch it, and
I've seen 2 scenes from this movie, and I've seen the ending, and now the ending is more contextual, and the ending is such a good payoff, and I mean, you know, I don't know, for its fault, it kind of like it just is abrupt. The ending is a little more abrupt than you'd kind of expect, and I feel like they could have flushed it out more, but like I really actually love the ending. I mean, it's, you know, then that like ties it all together, and the whole journey is amazing. I don't know. This was your first time.
Yeah, I have never seen Rosemary's Baby. I always wanted to. I liked it. I thought the ending was kind of weird and silly at the end because it was like, I mean, they're like, oh, Hail Satan and stuff.
Hail Satan.
I love it.
But then, like, you know, like it felt weird to like just keep her in. Like she's like, there's a point where she's like, and I was like the whole time Mia Farrow I think actually acted really well until the end, in which she's like, no, and she looks like really stupid when she's saying it, and it's like your baby's like a motherfucking Satan, and you could do better than that. And then she like sits down in a chair, and they give her tea, and they just like let her hang out, and they're like, no, it's cool.
I know.
Because you can come be the mom now, and you're like, that feels very.
I think they're trying to go not melodramatic. You know, they were trying to be more introspective.
It would have been more like sinister if they had like, you know, done something with her rather than just kind of be like, well, you could try to be its mom.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
It is frustrating, but I think by design, like in the same way that like that terrible movie that we didn't really like, See No Evil, where it's just like she's so helpless, and you as the audience, you're like, by the end, you're like, oh my God, she's been getting gaslit this whole time, and even that new doctor fucking turned her in, and you're like, she can turn to nobody. I just want her to get one win. And I'm like, you have that knife. Fucking stab that bitch. Stab that glasses bitch. And then, but yet she still loses. She still is like they're.
Stab yourself, even.
Yeah.
That would have been fine.
Roman, the one leader that's fucking named after the fucking rapist that made this movie, is like, he comes around and he's like, hey, why don't you try being its mother? Like, it's cool. And like, he still wins. Like, it's so brutal.
But that's what I love about it is because like she's like defeated from the whole time, and then it's like clearly reflective of the time period, and so it's just like and the novel obviously
the context of it
but,
is like you're, you know, as a woman you're still enslaved to being, you know, certain roles like as a mother, right?
Well, and like and also like she's, I don't know, like,
well, all she's wanted to be is a mother too, and so it's sad that it's just like
mother,
that's her one thing that she, like, her one bit of hope that she held on to this whole time.
Every time
was her
every time
baby trying to protect it, and then it's just like, well, he may be the son of Satan, and he has his father's eyes, and he has hooves or whatever, but I guess he's mine. And he comes around, and it's just like watching her getting fucking manipulated so constantly is just so heartbreaking. But it's so like paced well and so effective that the payoff really works. But she everyone is so natural in this, and I forgot how gaunt she is, and like when she's like going through all her pains, like at the Christmas party and everything. I'm just like, she's like a fucking emaciated, man. It's brutal.
But I love that everyone there is like, there's no one is supporting her, nobody, because she's like, I want to invite my friends, and it's like she's like doing this thing, and it's like you feel like at every moment. That's what's so like beautiful about this movie. Every moment you feel like any like she's gonna catch a break, and there's gonna be any like resolution or any hope. It's just decimated, and like it's totally you're left with nothing at the end. And so when she is reluctant to take the care of the child, but like she kind of just like has
what else
nothing
is,
else.
Yeah,
she has no way out.
She's been totally broken. Like
it's beautiful.
She's running around paranoid, being like, everyone's out to get me, and then the doctor's like,
when all her friends are like, you look like a stick of chalk, like you look like shit, and then like they're like, let's help you out, and then they just leave her. They just bail. It's just like, ugh.
It's brutal, but I don't know. It's so natural. Like even from the beginning, like the opening shot, like panning around the city and the music, like it just immediately is like foreboding. Even though, because that's the thing. This is my second rewatch, and I watched it back when I was like 14 or whatever, and I liked it, but I thought it was overrated, and I thought it was kind of slow, but I just didn't have the patience for it. I don't know. It's weird because for some reason this time I was completely sucked in and always uncomfortable from like even when she's talking to that woman in the laundry, and it's like. It's unsettling even there. Like there's always this undercurrent, and it just keeps building
is like a
and building.
Popular movie, and so you understand. Okay, she gives birth to Satan. That's kind of the thing. But like, I don't know how it happened, and I think the scene that's like the most like horrifying, because I mean this movie clearly doesn't. This falls under the realm of like not a horror movie essentially, but horror in the sense of like just society and human nature, but. When like she gets raped by the devil, like, and she's like, oh, it's, this is real, it's not a dream. And then like the husband the next day is just kind of like, I thought it was a bit of cheeky fun.
Yeah, and he's like, I thought you were passed out. I didn't want to miss out on the ovulation. I'm like, he still raped you.
Like, but even then that though, it's like it's so natural in the delivery where she's like, well, it wasn't the split second decision, but like it's kind of what she wanted, and like he fucking plays it off so well. And like he does such a good job in his performance. And what was crazy is I found out that Jack Nicholson almost was the husband, and that would have been weird. Yeah, I'm so glad he wasn't, because I think
it would have been a good performance, I think, but it would have been distracting.
But I think he works so well in The Shining. So anyways, but it's like, dude, yeah, the husband in this like he's a subtle actor, and he's kind of just in the background, but he does so much. Well, right. But I think him,
and
like,
his shame. There's like
so
shame that comes through because he puts his own pride. He basically sells his wife to this cultist for his career, And,
well, I asked
at the
Victoria
end when she
during
comes
this
in,
movie,
he's just like, when she comes in at the end, he's so shocked, and he's just standing in the hallway like, oh my god. She was never supposed to know. Now she knows my shame. And then she spits in his face, and you're just like, that's like the only victory.
No, not even then, though, dude. No, I don't think he felt shame. No. I think he felt kind of embarrassed for getting caught, and kind of like he felt like almost like brushing it off again. Like he's kind of like, well, this is tough, but honey, we got what we want, and it's like because he's very self-centered, and so it's like
I agree.
Like
I think it could be both.
Though.
I definitely felt some shame from his performance. Here and there,
a little bit, but I don't think it was.
I don't think it was the main thing necessarily, because he definitely immediately flips it. And is on her and like, hey, how is this any different than if he would have just died?
Right.
Let's just pretend he died, and let's go to Hollywood and blah, blah, blah.
That's brutal, yeah.
Like she's constantly just getting manipulated, man. It's brutal. It's and it's even worse when it's just like fucking Roman Polanski. But man, It's like
I know. I mean, that sucks. Like,
I do think the gaslighting in this movie is just spot on and so good, and it's so like relevant to and likely will always be relevant, especially in like it's like an abusive relationship as well, so you're
And
like
it's-
looking at like the gaslighting and her like not believing her and just like and it's to a point like you could see yourself being in this situation and being like, I must be like nutters or like, oh, this is like not.
You rationalize it for yourself.
Yeah, like I could be Mia Farrow, even though she was kind of a bitch.
Well,
but like,
and
I
it
did
feels
love
so
her, like, she's
natural.
kinda weird, but, yeah.
Which is crazy because it's like this movie came out over 50 fucking years ago, and movies from the era are so performative that, and that's fine, but it's like that's kind of how it is a lot of the time. But like this movie is just like all the performances are like really quiet and subtle and real in a way that felt really ahead of their time, and so it's just like it makes it all the more devastating for all her fucking problems and all her gaslight and manipulation that happens to her. It's really good. I'm pissed how good it is because it's definitely the best movie we watched this month.
Jordan was like, "What would you do to sell? Like, what would you sell?
Yeah.
Sell me up for?"
When we were watching this, I was like, what would you sell your soul for? Sell your soul for?
I was like, end of systemic oppression, or like, end the genocide in Palestine. Maybe that level of what.
Hey, it's
I know,
not even
right,
your
right.
soul; it's
Jake-
just your womb for like a little while, Like
I know, right? I'd
It'd
sell
be
my
pretty
room.
high price.
it's a high price, but you get to blind some guy. That's cool.
I know, right. You get a little bit of fame, I guess. Is he got his big break?
Yeah,
because that's what I loved. Is like I feel like the husband was
Some guy
shameful.
She didn't even care about really until the end. She's like, "Oh, sorry about your misfortune, but
Yeah.
my misfortune."
Yeah,
anyway, Pablo, you should watch this movie.
I'm good, thank you.
Pff,
I
coward.
recommend it.
Coward. Anyway,
I have morals. Sorry.
no, you don't.
Last,
lie,
but,
though.
oh yeah, I know.
You
great.
can't. Listeners at home, you've made it this far. Thank you. 3.5 hours.
Good luck.
Pablo doesn't have morals. Look at him.
I know.
Fucker. Anyway, we got
Also, really
one
the
more movie to
fuck
talk
Roman
about.
Polanski, fuck Roman Polanski,
Right.
though, it's
I know that's
like-
that's kind of like I think that like we've talked about him before, and that's always the caveat. He's a piece of shit. He's terrible. Separate art from artist. It can happen. It's possible.
Still his movies
It's
because
so
he's
hard,
tough.
especially
It's
when
tough
you.
as fuck though.
I'm
That's
sorry.
another conversation.
Like,
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
I'll just say
But-
it. Like when you guys were talking about it, and like all the other stuff, I felt like my gut churning up. Just like some of this, like, no,
Well,
it just feels so
well, that's
gross.
the
I
thing.
can't.
Here's
I
the thing.
can't.
He didn't like.
I can
He's an amazing director. He didn't write it. He didn't shoot it. He didn't act in it. Like, there's so many more elements to the film that make it
And
worth
this is-
watching. The one guy that he was the creative vision behind a lot of what came together. Shouldn't discount all the hard work that other people put into it. Like if it was one guy, like if Roman Polanski did a fucking spoken word album, I wouldn't buy that. You know what I mean? But it's just like, I don't know.
I mean, I think it's tough too.
It's
This was a producer's film, so that then this is what's hard is like you have to like, I don't know. You have to do this because there's such terrible human beings out
It's
there.
complex,
We
but-
have to kind of put them aside.
Yeah, people can be more than one thing, and I think it's just important to not forget, not to be like, oh, Roman Polanski's legacy, because he's 90 now, he's gonna die any fucking day. Maybe after we do this podcast,
Fingers
because
crossed.
maybe he's cursed him,
Oh
yeah, right, because you killed the guy from
We'll have
Snatch.
some good luck this time.
killed
But-
fucking.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you
I
know,
mean, I think also the victim doesn't really want this anymore, and the backlash was actually the publicity hurt more, and so I don't know. This is like
Yeah, it's-
I don't think we
way
need to
too
talk
large
about
for us,
this as
and
much.
but it's the art versus the artist. It's hard as long as you always are like never forget what a fucking horrible person he was and his crimes and shit. It's like I think it's okay to also be like, yeah, he's a piece of shit, but he was also a fucking great one of the greatest filmmakers. You know,
I don't know.
unfortunately.
I don't even necessarily. Yeah, I mean, I just think like he's made good films, but I really actually don't think he's that influential. I mean, I think he's just made good films, but
And you can also decide not to watch films of like pieces of shit.
right.
Produce and make.
Right,
That's
You're
cool.
gonna be
Yeah, do whatever you want.
You're gonna be all good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's always a hard one. It's like, especially in film, like there's so many fucking pieces of shit.
Well, that's the whole thing. I'm kind of just like, don't ever look into anybody then. 'Cause you're gonna turn over some rock.
Yeah, no, for sure. Your favorite person is definitely, strangles. Like you're gonna find out Guillermo del Toro fucking just strangles kittens, just like that's
Stomps
it.
puppies or
Again,
something. You're
He's a
like,
cat
okay.
strangler.
He did sign that petition.
He did.
I
know,
take
that's
it.
what I'm
I
saying.
want him
It's
to be a
like, I
nice
don't know.
man.
That's right. Like
Yeah.
we said earlier, don't deify anyone.
True.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
dude.
You could
Keanu
enjoy
Reeves
their
is a
art,
pizza
and
gay.
art often comes from fucking troubled people, man. A lot of artists are fucking troubled people one way or another. So, especially, who's most fucked in the head?
Sam Raimi?
Sam Raimi. Folks,
I
we're talking about
decided
Sam Raimi.
I hate Sam Raimi. I think he's such a butthole, man. I don't know.
I do
don't know.
too.
I'm so conflicted.
No, like that's the whole thing. Is like I think it's funny though. The one like watching this version of Evil Dead, I'm kind of
What
like,
did I say? Evil Dead 2.
oh, it's Evil Dead 2. Yeah,
Evil Dead 2.
it's Sam Raimi.
Dead by Dawn.
One of
It's
the
like-
greatest horror movies of all time.
Yeah, it was good.
Top 5.
It kind
We
of
should
like
let Pablo talk. Pablo
it's-
hasn't talked in forever.
it's fucking crazy though because this
Tired.
movie is good.
It is good.
No, it's not just
Pablo.
good. It's great. It's
Favorite-
my top 5. Top 5.
Favorite kill.
Favorite kill? Oh, the first chainsaw. The chainsaw with the girl, head's cut off, and then the chainsaw goes back into her and just like
Yeah,
gush
and that
buckets
black
of blood.
goo.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, yeah. That's a good kill.
So what's wrong with Sam Raimi though?
What leaves? Oh, I don't like Sam Raimi either. I don't know.
I
Hey,
don't like him. I mean, like he got lucky with Spider-Man.
I think-
which is pretty good, but
God.
that's about it.
I just-
Spider-Man 1 and
I
2.
think it's like-
Evil Dead 1 and 2 are really good. And honestly, I like all the Evil Dead movies. I'm just like, Evil Dead 2 is not that big of improvement that I remember. Like everyone was like,
No.
oh, he basically got the chance to redo it. So he basically recaps Evil Dead 1 in 7 minutes. That was the mark when he goes flying through the forest and becomes Evil Ash. Which is where I usually start the movie. I start the movie at that point because it's like in my mind, the headcanon is still all the friends, not just the girlfriend. But they kept
Yeah,
that
right.
because that's what's important going forward, right?
I kind of forgot it changed. It changed that so much. So like the plot is drastically changed.
Yeah.
I kind of forget. I mix them together in my head so often.
And I
So
skip
it's like,
it.
yeah.
I skip it, but only too because it's like, it's a good. I don't skip it. I watched it this time, but it's a good quick wrap up to kind of catch you up. But it's like on its own. It's super rushed and whatever, but that's not the point. But it's like everyone is like, oh, this is him at his higher budget, but it still is got like all the similar problems except for none of the backbone.
I highly disagree.
Well, no, it is more polished. It is more polished, but it's still not
and
that
it's-
polished.
But it's more slapsticky.
That's what
my-
what I don't like. Is it's
And
basically he's
I-
like, you
but
know
I-
what Evil
I
Dead
appreciate it
needs
on one
is
hand,
the Three
but-
Stooges. Like,
But
Well, right.
that's what makes this movie so good. Like I watched Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2 back to back the day after on the big screen last year.
that's right.
Oh, cool.
And oh my goodness, watching Evil Dead 1 felt like such a huge slog, so much of the time. And then going into Evil Dead 2 and I'm all like, all right, let's go, pick it up. We know exactly what's going to happen.
That's what I said in my review too. Is like I forgot that Evil Dead 2 it literally is just like, but it's like boom, just go for it, and it's just momentum the entire time, and I appreciate that, but
If
I like one.
I think I would have liked
more.
it. Yeah, I think I would have liked 2 more because I've seen 2 like 5 or 6 times probably, and this was my least favorite viewing. I watched it last night on Halloween, and I had a lot of fun with it because it's like this movie looks so cool. It's got such a vibe, and the fucking like effects are so fun.
I mean, buckets of blood are beautiful.
I can't-
But
Like the first one, yeah, it's kind of definitely has the shortcomings of like really low budget, a short premise stretched into a feature length. Like it's definitely got those moments, but it's got this like real foreboding horror, and like there's all real blood. But in this movie, it's like, I don't know. It's like every time something scary is about to happen, they're like, well, what if the hand was like making a squeaky noise and flipped him off? Wouldn't that be funny? And then,
And it is.
we don't
It is funny.
We don't want to use real red blood, because they don't want to get labeled like a video nasty again. So let's just make all the blood green and black and everything.
Well, so on this
For the
viewing,
sponsor.
I loved
Sponsors.
that because it was like the Deadites were like their blood was all weird, but then like the real blood was like humans, and it's like I don't know. I like that distinction, and
Still
I don't know.
tons of red blood.
No, that's fine.
No,
I just like
I know,
that is
but-
what got them the X rating or whatever in the original.
Right.
And
Well,
so
the blood coming out of the house, I guess, is all red. But anyways, it's like the Deadites looked great in this, and that imagery of the the mother in the cellar is
that's the best.
so fucking cool.
She's
And
so
it's like,
gross and creepy. I like it.
there's so much about this movie, and I appreciated watching it again, and like kind of, I mean, it's kind of it's forced in there a little bit, but where it's just kind of like, oh, he knew he was going to make Army of Darkness when he was making this. Like I just imagine
I fucking
he had to have
love
known.
the ending of this one though. I don't know,
Yeah.
like they're
Yeah.
getting sucked in, like because it does. It just
Right.
I appreciate the full commitment. Like
Yeah,
they are committed
exactly.
to the vision of what this movie is. So I really respect that, and it's not the movie's fault. Like the movie is good, and it's not the movie's fault. It's not what I want it to be, because I mean, and that's fine. And I like to look at it as like Ash is so broken and is going insane, which is some of the best scenes when he's like going crazy and then like ends up shooting through the door when the other characters show up. I look at it as this movie being whimsical is you're following Ash and he's making himself, he's trying to downplay it, and it's all in his own broken mind a little bit, and is making himself into this badass hero. But it's like, I like the unknown. Like my favorite horror is like cosmic horror. The unknown. I like the fact that the woods are just evil. Like the first one feels evil. Like they're just like, no, it's the woods that did this. But in this one, it's like, it's not the woods. It's a giant anamorphic tree that crawls around and goes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at the
which is-
very
No.
end, which isn't like the
That's-
main thing though.
That's throughout the whole movie. They
Because-
literally, the fucking girlfriend comes back and does the stop motion dance.
Which again was great,
No, it's a lot of fun, but
I
it's
know.
just not.
I mean,
it's
yeah,
not.
I love it.
but it's still foreboding. Where like
But she
the
she
theme-
jumps away, and it's like, like I don't know.
the
They-
thing chasing Ash, which you never like fully see until like maybe the very end, and even that's arguable that that's what's chasing Ash.
But they downplay that too, where it's like
It's still
they make
horrifying.
Well, no, they make it a gag. The Ash hides from it, and the camera's like, and it even makes a noise where it can't find him, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the forest now.
and it backs off, but it's still like unnerving and scary. It's not as goofy as you make it out to be. I don't know why you're making it seem like it's like this huge Three Stooges slapstick. Like it
feels
balances it balances horror and comedy perfectly, in my opinion.
maybe not perfectly, but it's got, for me, it's got like a lot of really good horror moments and pretty good balance most of the time. I just think I think that if the first one didn't exist for me to compare it to, like if I could just forget it, I would appreciate it a lot more. But the fact that it's just like, I feel like somebody looked at the first one and they're like, man, you know what this needs to be is a cartoon. Like, let's make this into a cartoon. Like, it feels like a cartooner showed up and it's like, we got to get that mass appeal, baby. We got to get that that Saturday
Cartooner?
morning crowd.
No, I feel that he leaned heavier into like the midnight viewing of it, where it's like kind of fun. But I think what it is I don't like Sam Raimi, because Sam Raimi would literally be nothing without Bruce Campbell. And what Bruce Campbell did with Ash is sick. I love all the renditions he's in. Ash vs. the Evil Dead is great. I only watched like maybe 6 episodes or something, or I don't even know if I finished the first season, but everything I saw, I was like, this is dope. And I love the idea of it. And I think that Evil Dead's kind of like one of my favorite universes. Like,
Yeah.
I think I love every rendition that it's been.
I do
I'm
too.
excited
I
for
don't wanna
every
be- I
remake.
don't want to be too harsh because I do love Evil Dead
Right.
too. And if you're a Patreon or want to be a Patreon, you could go listen to our bonus episode on Evil Dead Rise, because we did talk a
Yeah.
little bit more about the whole series as a whole when we did Evil Dead
Right.
Rise.
And I loved Rise.
Because
so,
I'm
yeah.
always, I didn't really like it that much, but there's always something I like because I really like this series. I like I like Army of Darkness for what it does, but it's just like, I think
See that
the
movie.
part that a lot of people didn't get scared with the first Evil Dead, but I did. And so that's what I clung on to because I saw the Evil Dead 1 first. And it scared me. Like, it actually, I still find it to be pretty scary. So the 2013 remake is the one that has the spirit of the first Evil Dead. We're just trying to actually create like evil that comes from the title. There's nothing evil about Evil Dead 2. You know what I mean? And that's fine. It's just a different movie. And I still really, really love it. And I really like all of the versions of it. It's just not my ideal version that spoke to me first. And I feel like the parts that I really liked are the parts that the rest of the fandom doesn't like. So that's why it ended up going a different direction.
And here's my hot take on that. And I, as someone who loves the series, the Evil Dead 2013 remake is just the realized version of the original Evil Dead.
Oh, sure.
Made. And that's why, to me, it's like, okay, well, then at that point, just discount the original Evil Dead, the very first one. And, oh, you want to watch like a fun movie? Watch Evil Dead 2. You want to watch like an actual scary movie? Watch the Evil Dead remake.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think Evil Dead 1 and 2 are comparable.
No, that's fair. I mean,
can see that.
They have to be talked about together because one's a sequel / partial remake of the other that just, it does such a big tonal change that I'm just, even though I think Evil Dead 2 pulls it really well, pulls it off really well, 1,000 times better than like Army of Darkness, say, where it leans way heavier in the other way.
Sure.
It is a good balance. It is a good balance.
And that I won't argue with, like Army of Darkness being a bit too like comedic. I really think like just going through all of them and just seeing like, oh, Evil Dead 2 does a near perfect balance of horror and comedy, and anybody can enjoy it. The gorehounds can enjoy it. The guys who want scares can enjoy it. The guys who just want to have like a fun time can enjoy it. Anybody can like watch this movie and appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I kind of think that that's part of my problem with it is it's like it lost something in trying to be more accessible. And that's okay. I would also recommend Evil Dead 2 over Evil Dead 1 to most people. 100%. Like, Evil Dead 1 is just got... I saw something in it that I think was the original vision, but everyone else saw, oh, look how, like, cheap and goofy this is, and they laughed at it, and Sam Raimi was like, okay, let's just run with that then. And so they did that. But I'm like, he had something there, but he chose to go a different route with it, which, who am I to say? You know what I mean? It's like he can do whatever he wants.
The thing is, he
Evil Dead
kept
2
that.
is better. It's a better movie.
He kept that throughout, though, his career. He leaned into Evil Dead 2, and then he just...
Well, that became his identity,
Army
and
Darkness,
that's why I don't
and then
like
Spider-Man's
Sam Raimi's.
goofy, and Drag Me to Hell is goofy, and it's like, he just goofed it up, and he's goofing all day, and I don't know. I mean, like, it'd be cool to see him try to make like a true... I mean, I think with Drag Me to Hell, he tried to make like a true horror, but then he just goofed it.
He goofed it, yeah.
Goofed it, bud.
Which is fine. I mean, someone needs to make those kind of movies, and Evil Dead is definitely more of a horror than just like a goof. Yeah, Evil Dead 2. And Evil Dead 2 is awesome, so I don't want you to think I'm talking shit on it.
I know.
Dude, don't get me wrong. The
I'm
practical
just pointing
effects
out
in
it's
it are
really
amazing.
Just saying, like, this isn't scary
inspirational.
movie. This is a horror movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Sure, yeah.
The
I'll
movie,
give you that
the movie scary.
I'll give you that all day.
We should watch that next year. A scary movie.
I would, yeah.
I know we were talking about that.
We were talking about that. Scary movie's actually good.
Yeah, because
when's
it's like
close?
that's all. It's like Tales from the Hood is like, scary movie. Definitely a little different vibe.
Anyway, Evil Dead 2. It's 1 a.m. and I gotta wake up in 5 hours. So.
Yeah, baby. Thank you all for making the 4-hour trip with us around the 30,
if you made it
31
this far,
days.
You're a fucking hero. Go check out our Patreon.
I was about to say, we'll join your Patreon if you listen to this whole thing.
I know.
Send us a link.
Pablo
at
and
patreon.com or...
Thank you guys for coming on to talk with us.
Thanks for having us on.
I'd like to have you guys more often. I mean, watch
some lovely guests.
We're doing Westerns next month, so...
All right, maybe you can have me at a different one.
Instead of... Get the fuck out of here. Now you don't have to watch a movie every day. You just have to watch one movie a week, which is, in retrospect, seems so easy.
Yeah,
you would think, but
compared to watching, I watched like 35 movies last month. I can watch 4 movies this month with my eyes closed, and I'll probably
you can
watch
too
twice
out
as
there,
many.
folks.
You can do it. if you like movies, you can find the time. It's not that much. So, thank you. I hope you guys all had fun with Horrortober. I know we did. I just like horror movies. I don't know. A lot of people out there are haters. Everything that I talked shit on, I still like them. You know what I mean? Like even Jason. I still like it. Because
I'll watch all the Jasons.
Yeah, dude, I still love horror movies so much. So I'm like, I'm there and being like, you fucking piece of shit. All right. Like, all right, I love you. Here you go. Like, just be better.
I'll watch any movie that moves, dude.
Yeah, that's true. He will. All right. Thanks again for listening. If you made it this far, I'm getting tired now. I don't know. Remember who I thanked. Thank these guys.
I don't even. Yeah.
Jordan, thank you.
I don't know who I am anymore.
I'll put this up tomorrow and then I'll do Western stuff. You got anything, Dad?
Sure don't.
Good night.
All right, say good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.